Hey everyone, this is World Squid playing Slice and Dice, going for a two streak on Standard Unfair, a mode that a lot of people tend to struggle with. So my goal here is to show a couple of wins, what they look like, and just kind of go through my thought process on everything. By no means am I saying I am an expert or the final authority on everything. One nice thing about this game is that no matter how good a character is or an item is, there's always situations where they're bad, and vice versa. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, and just use your own experiences for, I guess, to evaluate what I say. And yeah, I'll be interested in hearing any counterpoints or whatever. But this is pre-recorded. I basically kind of went until I got two in a row. But I also had issues with like recording the first couple, so I kind of had to throw those out. But whatever. Here we are. So yeah, here we go into the streak. So I'm kind of playing this video along with you guys. All right, so I plan on spending some time on certain parts, maybe skipping past a couple others. So bear with me. When it comes to these curses, this is like a big aspect of your run. And I've played with all of them. You see check marks on each, so I've beaten it with all of them. And I'll kind of go over my thoughts on them. Starting with tough monsters, I'll just go top to bottom. It Tough monsters, enemies get 120% of their base max HP. A lot of times, 4 rounds up to five, five goes up to I think seven is the breaking point. Maybe it's only six, but this doesn't seem too bad on paper. But I've found that honestly, this is probably one of the toughest to win with, at least with any kind of consistency. Um, this takes a lot of enemies that are in range of what you are offered and puts them out of range of kill, like reasonable kill in a single turn or two turns even. Fights that are difficult just get that much more difficult. Although this does not necessarily really affect fights that are easy as much. Like usually an easy fight is going to be easy with tough monsters and a hard fight's going to be much harder with tough monsters. And if you're trying to have a really good win rate with standard unfair, that level of consistency is very important. And if you are behind even in the slightest and you come up against a hard fight and you have tough monsters, it's basically over. Tough monsters also specifically is really bad on like the hardest fights, which are the goblins and the late bosses, and well, honestly, early bosses to be honest. So it's very tough for me to take. I used to take tough monsters all the time, but I have since honestly felt that I will never take tough monsters again. Obviously, you can win with it, but it's so brutal. Start damage is I think the curse that pretty much everyone agree, most people agree is like the easiest one to manage. This rounds down pretty generously, so you need to have exactly 8 health for it to knock down two, and not a lot of heroes really break that cap too frequently, especially early on. So you'll get a lot of heroes that are minimally affected by this. Additionally, this gives a lot of healers just something to do on turn one, which does make healers with healing have a little bit more priority. But honestly, this is so relatively insignificant that it's no big deal. Each monster being alive one more turn will easily significantly out damage this damage that you're taking right now significantly. I prefer, well, fewer rerolls is a tough one. This definitely feels the worst, but I don't think it is the worst. It just sucks. You have to think about your turns in advance a lot more, and suboptimal rolls you have to take. It makes no, not you have to, but you really have to think about whether or not the roll that you get on the first roll is worth it. And there's a lot of evaluation going on there. Um, the Sometimes you can just roll two blanks and it feels absolutely awful. But overall, it's manageable. You just have to plan harder. And yeah, you can't necessarily plan for the amount of times your heroes just miss. But yeah, it's definitely workaround. It makes the game feel a lot more rough, though. That's a huge thing. One thing that I kind of this is not mathematically accurate, but it's a metric that I kind of use. With fewer rolls, you can expect about 3 times per run, a full run, a hero to just roll 2 misses if they have an empty side. If you don't have fewer rolls, that happens around 1 in every 2 or 3 runs. So it's definitely noticeable. But yeah, planning is really good at kind of mitigating this. Expensive spells. Expensive spells is polarizing because I know a lot of people like to rely heavily on spells. Spells are very dynamic. Spells are very strong. So making them weaker in particular is it feels really bad. Um, Certain classes that are really strong, like insanely strong, like the Jester, or decent, like the Alchemist, are affected by this very, very heavily. And even certain classes that have more expensive spells, like the Evoker, suddenly can't cast their spell even in a 1-on-6. Like there's no way for them to cast their spell in one turn. So a lot of blue heroes lose their 1 turn game plan, and just the cheaper your spell is, the worse off this is. This also affects a lot of items. All the mana items get worse. All the spell books get worse. It's kind of just rough all around. But I like to look at it as I'd say maybe a character and a half are getting 33% weaker. I know it's a weird way to look at it, and it's definitely not accurate in any way. But if you look at it that way in particular, it's not so bad. And honestly, most there are like certain characters that I feel are strong anyway, such as like a vampire uh or like the Caldera, don't necessarily feel this as much. So oops, I accidentally kept started the video on the yachts. All right, start poisoned. Uh, a lot of like heavily relying on cleanse is nice. A lot of people do it. A lot of like the nastiest things in the game can be just completely eliminated with a cleanse. But the consistent damage output you take, especially in the early game, where you aren't guaranteed to have even a single cleanse, is very rough. Uh, it just also adds to the total amount of damage an enemy can do to execute a character. So a lot of early deaths come from being poisoned, and it also makes it that like I don't know, certain heroes don't have a ton of health but are strong, so this just gets really really rough. And if you are cleansing the poisoned sides, you are also not healing or blocking, respectively, another character. So this is just better if a target that also needs to be cleansed to live also needs like that healing or that shield side. And yeah, so certain this is just very polarizing as well. Like if you can't kill quick and you can't guarantee have a good strong damage output, this seems really really tough. And just for consistency early game, this is brutal. And then last and least is left blank, where all allies lose their left side entirely, and it just becomes a blank. Most allies' left side is the strongest, and for some characters, it's just straight up character defining. So to lose your strongest, it's and increase your chance of missing by a significant amount is just absolutely, absolutely awful. Certain items that replace the left side, or like things like ballet shoes, become incredible with left blank. But overall, it's so punishing, and it makes so many things so inconsistent that I think this is actually just by far the worst curse to take. So that's my opinion. I will always start damaged, fewer rolls, and expensive spells, because you kind of have to take these curses immediately, and you can't like swap them around ever or choose them after you see a couple upgrades or a couple items. So these three just have the most chance for you to have consistency in what you do. So yeah, I will definitely just immediately pick these here. I won't even think about it. In general, game plan is keep everyone alive. Try prioritize targets and see if you are killing them, and therefore that would help keep you alive. And just and then reevaluate keeping characters alive after you see like what your damage output is. I'll just keep kind of talking as I'm playing because these fights are usually relatively straightforward. Like I will usually always damage the witch because poison's so strong, and the wolf's not really spiking down any character. Uh, I'll try to burn the witch first. The head to heal with the defender or block with the defender, and the acolyte's max health. I kind of just went for the warrior to try to keep everyone around an even amount of damage. That's just really good against like kind of the wolf, who can split damage out, and it also just makes it so that if the witch is targeting someone, that no matter I mean the witch has heavy, but no matter who gets hit by like a witch, odds are they will be able to survive and survive well. Usually, splitting healing like that's pretty decent. Um, yeah, this is one of those like you kind of just have to hope you get damage to kill the witch because this is not enough to heal the acolyte. I could have healed the warrior or the defender. Technically, it's slightly more efficient to heal the defender because they're guaranteed to get hit by any of these AoE sides, but this just didn't matter. And here we are left or are given our first upgrade choice. I personally find both of these incredibly weak. I know Brute has a lot of just like good numbers on them, but they have high life and the blocking just kind of like makes their life even higher, which is a plus. This is absolutely the Brute's best side, and I think it is a very strong side. However, 3 damage heavy, I have very strong opinions about sides that give heavy. Oftentimes, the highest health character is not who you want to be hitting. Very, very, very often. A lot of times, you will want to be dealing the last 3 damage to a character than the first 3 damage, or even just the last 2 rather than the first 3. So I kind of view this as an AoE class because if you have a setting like this, suddenly these hammers are incredible. But it's not so great if there was like a spiker and like 4 rats. Because you want to be clearing out the lower health things first, because usually things do less damage as they get more health, unless they're bosses. And someone can call me out on this. That's just kind of how it has felt to me. Clearing out low health targets is usually my priority list, or high on my priority list. And then you want your yellow to be doing damage. So having a side that doesn't do any damage and is conditional against it and is very like not so great against single targets is a little rough. So it's also kind of an AoE defensive side. But overall, you can't really expect a yellow to have more than 4 attacks. So I'm not actually downplaying this at all. I think this is completely fine, and it works especially well with the Brute's kit. So I like these. Armor, on the other hand, I think is probably actually the weakest tier 2 gray. I know I'm going to get a lot of people disagreeing with me with this, but as stated before, I do not like this 3 damage heavy. I think it's really not great at all. But yeah, it has its uses, absolutely. And then the blocking sides here, steel things that have steel require you to gain shield somewhere else. So if you're burning your mana to give the armorer shield so that they can give someone else more shields, you're not using it for offense, you're not using it for healing, and the armor has to be getting hit, which in all fairness, they are the most likely one being hit. But these sides are good on their own, even without any boosting. So these are definitely good sides. But this top and bottom side is like deceptively bad. It's very, very offensive. You're pretty much never using this for blocking. And so you always want to be adding it to a side that does 2 things. So like a lot of the spellcasters have like an attack and mana or block and mana. But basically all you're doing, since it's only 1 buff, is you're saying use that side twice and skip this character's turn. So unless you have like a whirl or maybe like a rogue who has poison and you're doubling that poison, you're really not getting as much value out of this as you would like to get. And having to roll the armorer side and roll the other side that you want to boost and do all that, it's so brutal. And so like for a class that I prefer to draft for its defensive capabilities, having only 2-3 block sides is not that great. So I will almost never pick Armorer. Armorers has good synergies, but at the end of the day, those synergies are very underwhelming for this mode. So I just snap pick the Brute here because I don't have a microphone on this setup, so I kind of just played a little bit quicker than if I was over explaining. Here, I like to keep the 1 mana on the Adept if it's rolled, unless I desperately need 2 mana, just because having the 2 miss sides is so rough and polarizing, and I would just rather have a steady mana generation. And if you notice, I don't have a way to keep the Defender and the Acolyte alive. The Defender rolled 2 blocks, so 1's alive, and this is no healing side or can stop this. No healing side, and the 1 mana and this current side is not going to stop either of these characters from dying because there's no 2 health to heal. So I pretty much have to kill this rat or roll the 2 max HP side for both of these characters to survive, which is what I'm considering right now. I moused over that. And I just hope I get 2 damage. And the Brute rolls 3. So hooray on AoE fights. These early fights are really nice for the Brute. So yeah, I'm happy with that so far. Same here, just evaluating what to take. This Defender side is kind of awful because both characters are dying by at least 2. But rolled decently. This now lets that actually save. I'm kind of in a predicament here. I pretty much have to let one of these 2 characters die, and I figure I'll just let the Acolyte die. It's a coin flip either way, but I guess Thief's damage is probably more important in this fight. What little fight of this is left than the Acolyte's healing. So I kind of just chose that, but honestly, it's basically the same. And neither of them are super punishing. It's 1 damage for the next. Also, I found a bug report or a bug there, so I probably reported that. So let me skip a little bit. Yep. Good job, World Squid. All right. So yeah, take no damage. Only Archer has 1 HP left, so we're good on this fight. This fight's over, but like I said, it's kind of an AoE fight, so we're good for those. All right. Before you take an upgrade or even look at your items, I like to look at what you're fighting and just kind of keep that in mind. See if there's anything that you're missing or you feel that you're missing for whatever's coming at you. Less likely in the early fights, but just something to consider. Fighting a witch, rat, and archer is pretty straightforward. I don't know what's going on right now. I'll skip past until. Oop. Okay, so I'm given the choice between Scar and Wine. Scar has no downside, but you need to be overhealing to make really any use of this because there's no effects besides that curse for start damage that actually scale based on your max HP. There's no Acolyte heal that heals 50% of a character's max HP or something. So it's a little rough. It's good if you have overhealing, but it's very, very rare if you have overhealing. This is much better if you're not starting damaged, but still not the greatest. But it's okay. And Wine, I think it can be fine. It's definitely you need to evaluate your items every turn kind of item because it's really good with large single targets, but it's great if you have cleanse, but it's bad otherwise. And it's really bad in AoE fights, and we kind of have AoE, so I could consider taking a Wine, but I'm pretty sure, I don't take either of these. I don't think either of these are incredibly strong, and I would just rather have a random item. And you know what? If I whiff, I don't care. So I got Caster Root, an item which it was under some contention on the Slice and Dice forums a couple days ago. I think it's fine. I hate missing, and I think a lot of my runs feel like I kind of just missed on crucial turns. Yeah, 1 healing is not great. 1 healing usually is never going to be the difference between surviving and not surviving, but you can't write off the fact that probably would have been a miss otherwise. And even little spot healings add up. So I think caster is fine. But I don't think it's great either. But I think it is acceptable to take. All right. And this fight, if I'm not mistaken, just goes pretty quick too. Um, try to find a way to keep the thief alive. I like to keep 1 damage on the thief. This might have been a circumstance where I didn't, but um, yeah, the thief's just dead. Poison's brutal early on, and the archer hitting him too is just like made it almost unblockable. So yep, couple deaths early, but honestly, that's no huge deal, especially because they were the weakest health targets. And then yep, just rolled enough damage and mana that the rest of this fight is very straightforward. Rip thief. Okay, we are left with our second decision. The Gambler and the Bard. I know a lot of people dislike the Bard. I'll get back to the Bard. I'll actually start with the Gambler. Gambler, mathematically, with fewer rerolls, is not a huge damage upgrade to the Thief. Rolling that 5 is very nice. And it's also pretty tempting to take the Gambler with Caster Root, because the Gambler technically now can't miss. And those X's become way less punishing. But the Gambler's damage output only goes up like maybe 50% from the Thief with fewer rerolls if you try to aggressively roll the 5 damage side, which I think is actually optimal. I can't remember if keeping the 2 if you roll the 2 and then rerolling everything else was optimal, but they're very close. And it's rough. The Gambler definitely thrives on rerolls. And the Bard, a lot of people think the Bard's harp is weak. I can see that because it usually things that have a 1 on them don't feel that impactful. But there are like a decent amount of situations where you can be blocking 5. I know like spikers hit all. There are a lot of enemies that kind of hit all for 2 or 3 even late game. The Bard has 2-3 block sides, which is par for the course for tier 2 grays, and then their right side is like a single use 2 mana, which is rough, and then they can still miss. The nice thing about this though is that they definitely have more than a 50% chance to block, because they have 3 chances of blocking, and anytime they roll this, they just get to go again. So mathematically speaking, they actually have a 60% chance to roll a block side, which is much better than only having 2 or 3 heals. Like the armor had 2 heals or shields, sorry, and the Bard has like 6. So that's only I can't do. Why did I do? Oh wait, no, it's a third 1 in 3 chance, whereas the Bard has a 3 in 5 chance, which is significantly better. There are such circumstances where you want this, where it's genuinely very good. A lot of people will say that's not the case. I guess use your own experience and see if keeping it's good, and if how many times you think that's the case, and just know that the Bard has a relatively high chance of getting a single target block too. So they have like a relatively versatile kit, and they have decent health on top of everything else. However, in these fights, you do want to be damaging characters. So this is kind of scary. The biggest reason this is scary is because the Brute has to hit the Alpha with the heavy side, so you don't really want to be rolling them, because clearing wolves is, in my experience, by far the best thing to do in this fight than trying to spike down an Alpha. And if you don't have consistent damage, you can't really do that. And Brute's quote unquote consistent damage, half of it goes to the Alpha. So this is a scary fight. I am genuinely not happy with this fight or with these upgrades right now. And also, this roll is garbage. This roll is so rough. I just read the whole thing. And I hate this. I hate having to see this, and just nothing you can do. And yeah, this is also just kind of brutal. I mean, I take 0 damage and heal 2, but the Alpha just summoned another wolf, so I'm like really far behind right now. I feel that this fight is basically already spiraling out of control. Yeah, that block side is actually would have blocked 4 there, which is not the worst thing ever. But man, yeah, I got lucky sustains here. I often preach to spam restore instead of burst. But if you need to do damage, like in this fight, if I fall behind in damage, I just need to do damage. I also look and also I don't advocate spamming restore if you have two characters that are on full health. Like that health is not going to be better than this 2 damage overall, and this is a damage race at the moment, so I will switch to burst here. Though I rarely burst, it was tempting to slice too, but I need to make sure that wolf dies on the bottom at minimum. Um, yeah, this is a great turn. I'm rolling very very well here. That definitely helps. Um, yeah, being able to just keep everyone alive and not use mana is nutty. And yeah, I can only heal the 2 here. It's pretty obvious. So heal, go for whoever has the most missing max HP. And these turns are actually looking much much nicer. Uh, yep, I'm rolling so freaking well right now. It's kind of insane. Yeah, I choose to burst that down because looking at it real quick, this wolf was just spiking down the adept. And again, I'm clearly not missing defense. I'm clearly missing offense. So being able to just spike that down and even almost overheal here is great. And I choose to heal the brute just because if the alpha rolls this, I would like the brute to be I'd like as many characters as possible to be out of range. Another honestly kind of excellent roll here. I just keep everything because it keeps the bard alive because I would like to restore just to do that thing that I was saying. The restoring brings the acolyte and adept to 3, so if the wolf is swiping, they're both alive. And also, I feel the need to have to do damage far less now that the 2 wolves are gone. And I got lucky with the alpha just summoning again, so I can kind of just do whatever I want. And yes, in this case, this side is great, but yeah, these wolves are kind of scary. And that's definitely how you lose this fight. Also, if you notice, the alpha is the thing that you want to be spiking down now, and it has less health than the wolves. So I have to burst to kill it, which I'm totally fine with, and I'm actually just out of the fight. And that looks terrifying, but we pulled through pretty easily, I think. But that was off. Don't be deceived. That was off the back of rolling incredibly. Like the Bard and Acolyte rolled incredibly well the whole time. All right, so we're on to the next item choice. I like items that replace the right side. If you look at the hero list, a lot of heroes, especially tier 3 heroes, are missing their right side, and especially the really strong ones. So this is basically just like have a free effect um, on a character. And when they wouldn't miss, they actually have an effect now. Even though the effect might not necessarily be the most impactful in a fight, these are still both useful, and it's way better than just like slightly replace. In my mind, it is much better than just replacing a side with a slightly better upgrade that then falls off once you get to tier 3. So I like both of these, but I have liked Blessed Ring less and less, and Healing Wand I think is just dope. I know a lot of people are like, you don't want. This is also another item that was brought up on the forums too. A lot of people are like, you don't really want to be rolling this, but you don't pick these items because you want to roll this side. You pick these items because sometimes you just miss. And having a free 4 heal is pretty darn good. I mean, you saw that I was able to keep the almost everyone alive against the the acolyte just healing 3, and like the 5 healing on the vampires like incredible. So this is a one-time use in between those. It turns a useless side into a defensive side. I think it's relatively strong. I like healing wand and I pick it all the time. So I'm guessing I'm gonna pick healing wand here. And also a thing that was also brought up on the forums that I completely agree with: if you get good use out of one of your items, you should not random. You should, I mean, be very picky about randoming. I know I say that, literally having randomed my first item, but this is if you have decent strength or even just average strength of your options, you should definitely be picking one of these instead of going random, unless you feel that you desperately need a single item to win the run, which should never happen early on. So I check my inventory multiple times, always when I make these decisions. But yeah, I liked putting this on the bar. So I had 3 choices that I could put this on. or I guess technically 4. I could move the caster route to the bard, so that way even if the bard uses their single use, they always have mana sides. Um, I could put it on the thief, brute, and adept otherwise. I don't like taking this off the adept because of it would still give them a two chances to miss, and if I put the healing wand on them, like they still can miss, and then if I use the heal, then they're back down to their standard. So I like this here. Um, but I actually don't know who I end up putting it on. I put it on the bard. I don't know if I just started the fight immediately. Yeah, I did. Okay. I think the bard's completely fine. It makes the bard incapable of missing, so I'm okay just spamming rerolls. Yeah, and this is also scary. This fight right here, no cleanses. The snake's rolling to poison, and the brute kind of has to hit the snake. There's no consistent damage here, but this roll is good enough. So yeah, definitely spike a rat that does 3 damage. This is the only one doing 3 damage, and everyone kind of stays alive. And luckily, the brute's getting poisoned, so they can survive the longest. So even though it was kind of scary, I mean, it turns out if you just roll some of the best sides every time, you're fine. Yeah, rerolled sides that were great. Nothing too crazy about this turn. So I'm not gonna get too crazy into it. I am noticing that the snake's getting insanely bad. So since I'm already completely healed without having to kill any of these, which I think I was last round too. I just decide that the snake's gotta go. Luckily, Brute's cooperating, rolling damage like he needs to, and the Thieves always been rolling the 1 damage side, which, as I mentioned earlier, I think I am okay on the Thief keeping the 1 damage side just because it can't, or the Thief can miss. It's a little bit less important in my opinion uh, on like the Warrior, where the Warrior can't miss no matter what. Um, but your damage, theoretically, damage, if you count exclusively damage, is basically the same if you choose to roll or not roll, if you roll the 1 damage. And yeah, the whole reason I'm talking is because at this point, like just talking over everything I'm doing, is because at this point the fight's basically over. The rat doesn't really like the couple of rats left. All I needed to do was win before the poison killed the brute. All right. So as said, you definitely have to look at the fight that you're fighting and look at the options that you're given. So I'll go over these options too. Druid, in my mind, is good, and they are aggressive. They have only 2 healing sides. They have the 3 heal cleanse, which is insane. It is incredible. It is absolutely their shine, like their best side. That's why you pick Druid. And 2 block growth, which is not bad, but it's not like incredible either. I don't know. It's decent. I will not say that it is a bad side. But then they have 2 mana sides, which cannot cast their spell even on expensive spells, which is fine because they're more like the mana support character. And the 2 damage growth, which is a pretty good side. I won't argue that it's but their healing without casting any spells is 3. Their blocking is 2, and then they have 3 other sides. So I tend to view Druid as like an aggressive side, which is good, especially in this case because I felt my damage lacking this whole run. And Glacia is, in my mind, you pick Glacia if you have a red hero that has an incredibly good spell, like the Druids or the Vampires. But the Glacia is very, very, very defensive. Unless you're planning on spamming Burst, which with expensive spells is not good, you don't really need to be generating a ton of mana when you just have a single use side right here. The single use side can get you out of a lot of tricky situations, but I've always found it to be underwhelming. Uh, it's so nice when it hits. So that feeling that riding that high is super nice. But it doesn't pop up as much as I would like it to, in my experience. I love the Glacius kit. I think this is excellent, and their health is excellent. So they're definitely not terrible, but I like picking Glacia when my defense isn't solved, which I think my defense is okay right now. So I'm guessing I'm gonna pick this Druid, and I also need a cleanse, and I already have a gray character that doesn't have a cleanse, so this is a pretty quick pick for me. And then I can choose which one of these characters I want to have the healing wand on. And in general, I will usually try to pick the hero that think I will be re-rolling the most. Uh, The reason I think I'll reroll the Bard the most in this case is because they have the reroll side. So I feel like if I don't roll a great side initially, I can just kind of do whatever. And the Druid, a lot of their sides are going to be very useful, no matter what they are. If I roll any of the Druid sides, I'll probably be happy. So I don't think I'll be re-rolling the Druid a lot. And I'll just accept that, I should value highly the side that the Druid gets on the first roll, unless it's a blank. I also hate corpses. I kind of hate any. I say hate, but you know what I mean. I dislike any enemy that spams shields or can spam shields. So quartz and ogres are. I dislike these classes a ton. So I'll try to spike this quartz just to get it out of the way because it can also just spam block, and it's way easier to kill than this ogre. Ogres are usually like glass kill targets for obvious reasons, but yeah. Oh hell, look at that caster! Look at this caster root value. Look at this. Incredible. Amazing. This just the best. No, I'm memeing. Sorry. Yeah, so go after the rat next and just sit here and wait for the ogre to not freaking shield. So generating mana is really good against an ogre too, just because having a large bank of mana is just also genuinely really good. I balance here just because I get full value out of the healing. But that was basically just an expensive restore because I didn't actually do any damage to the ogre. And yeah, it's rolling shields again. If I'm not mistaken, this is a long one, but yeah, you just kind of got to buckle up. Take a look at if boosting the ogre will get you have anyone killed, and if not, just kind of go for it. And I like to obviously it makes sense to get them like really low here, so I just go for the burst, even though it's 50-50 if I should have saved the mana on that one. But luckily, everyone else's health is so high that I don't feel bad taking this. And it's pointless rolling damage here. So anyone who gets block, I want or has a chance to block, I should just roll block because there's no way I was bursting through that shield. And I pretty much just have to sit and wait for him to not use the shield side, which lucky for me didn't happen very often, and we have a kill. Cool. So here's another item side. Adding range to the left side. I don't rate this very high. Yes, there are circumstances where range sides are nice. There will always be like a lot of cases, but there are also a lot of fights where there's absolutely no range side. And I have found that the majority of fights with enemies that have range side are completely manageable, even if you don't kill the range or the things in the back row first. So having this not necessarily be applicable to all characters that I would want. Also, this is completely useless on the brute because characters in the back row are almost never gonna have the most amount of health. So I already can't even use this here. It just kind of feels weak. It's super nice when it works, and if you struggle and you notice and you want to be killing backline units, by all means take the fletching. But I don't like it so much. And Pocket Phylactery, I actually think is incredibly good. 6 max HP is kind of nuts. It can translate to only 4 if it pushes you over 2 of the thresholds, but it's still a lot of health. You would then have to use these left 2 sides twice if they have 2 value to just break even. It lets you overheal like crazy if you need to, if you have it, which I don't really have in this fight. But the max HP is great. It scales. There are a lot of champions that have like no pip sides on the left or middle, especially in like tier 2 and 3. So yeah, I'll definitely pick that. Challenges, always skip them. Like just always. There are very, 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 very rare circumstances where you would want to pick a challenge. And quite honestly, I have died thinking that I would just win some challenges. Like I thought they were 100%. And it's just like you just can't. Challenges, the strength of the enemy and the like strength of the rewards that you get is so unweighted that you have to be so strong to take any of these. Like I get 3 not so great tier 1 items to make this fight, which is already might be a little tough for me, like virtually impossible. So I'm definitely not going to take this. I don't even think I consider it. And yeah, so now I have a 14 health bard that only takes 1 damage with this side and 1 damage with the reroll. I think that's excellent. That is a super huge buff to the bard, and I think it's great. So yeah, I'll definitely just keep these One thing I'm noting is that I currently 2 characters are dying, and unless I can kill this Slimer, which I need 2 more damage to do, uh, one of these characters is going to die. So I either choose to keep the Druid's heal to heal the 1 pip, so that way this like both characters can live, and just take whatever with the Adept, or I can try to roll either to get to like the damage to burst it, or the 2 damage gross side, which is a 50-50. I don't know how crazy I get here, but yeah, I reroll both because I am a madman. Uh, but maybe I thought, yeah, I have no idea why I did that. I think that was an unnecessary gamble. But hey, it worked out. So that taught me nothing. I guess something happened here where I was AFK. So let me just push. Okay, I chose to reroll, got a good reroll. So I'm okay with rerolling the Adept now with Caster Root because there are no blank sides. And having 2 mana is not really going to do me any good. Maybe I want something for this fight, so whatever. I rerolled. Brute having hit the Slimer is kind of sad, but we do get a kill on the Slimer, and this fight feels basically over at this point. Although this happened, which is nice. Uh, I dislike Slimelets. I dislike their new either deal 3 or deal 0. I think it's way too swingy. But I didn't make the game, so I have to live with it. But yeah, balance put them all in range of all like a lot of these kills, and I mitigated so much of this damage anyway that no problems here. And then this fight's basically over too. It's like only half paying attention. And if you ever thought my damage was solved, just keep in mind that I could not kill 2 injured Slimelets. All right, next hero choice. As someone who plays with fewer rerolls, I find the Ranger to be garbage. This surely is the fight where they could shine because there are going to be so many targets that they can use the engage side on, and there will usually be enough targets that this always does 3 damage. However, when you do clear these Slimelets and you're fighting just versus the Slime Queen who is injured, this Ranger's damage is the exact same as the Thief's. Literal exact same. So unless you're rolling this on turn 1 or like really early, it's really hard to get 4 damage out of this. And even when you have a one-time 4 damage, your damage against a single target goes back down to the Thief's damage. And this side, if you roll it and keep it, also puts all of these out of engage range. And this class has 2 sides to miss, and this class doesn't have a lot of health. So like, I dislike virtually everything about this class. Virtually everything. Whereas Caldera is one of the characters that I mentioned in the beginning that I think is perfectly fine with expensive spells. Their Scald spell is very good AoE. Yeah, it takes condition like set up conditional, but you can plan ahead for it relatively easily. They have decent mana generation. It's basically the same as the Adept, and with having a much better spell, it just makes it so much more impactful. And they have good single target damage because, to be quite honest, dealing 6 damage to a single target, yes, it's a 1 in 6. Yes, it can only happen once, and yes, they have to be on half health. But this is very strong. This 6 damage is a lot, and a lot of bosses and boss fights, you will be able to get the majority of this damage out. And honestly, sometimes even just 3 damage is good. Like the Brute's best sides only do 3 damage. So I think the Caldera is very strong. I looked with my inventory to see if I had enough things that would replace this with good stuff that maybe the Ranger's more tempting. But there's no way I picked the Ranger, right? Okay, good. Yeah, and then Caster Root's the exact same thing. I could put the Caster Root anywhere. I can't put it on the Bard anymore with these 2 items, but I could have swapped that over. In my mind, like since the Caldera has the one side miss and one that, it's just acceptable. I will also be using this probably relatively liberally in this fight, so I expect this side to be gone. Yeah, also one last thing to note is that for the Slime Queen, it's really good to have your top and bottom heroes upgraded. Oh, I do switch. What do you know? Or wait, was that a switch? I don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore. Okay, so yeah, it's good to have your top and bottom heroes upgraded because just this side is so punishing. So yeah, one of these characters would. Well, actually, no. With since the bard rolled this, one of the characters you can keep both of these characters alive with like this shield and bursting the other one, but since the Slimelet's also hitting the Caldera, killing that Slimelet will put the Caldera out of range, and I can block the Thief. So that's absolutely what I'm looking to do immediately, and then I'll just see what I can do with everything else. Sad times the bard rolling their single use side immediately, but what can you do? I'll keep the 2 mana and I'll bank it, and I'll be fine. Slime Queen fight's a long fight, so getting growth early is great. I guess I keep that brute side because why not? You gotta get some damage on the Slime Queen anyway, and I have a Scald, so being able to Scald right here is kind of juicy. Yeah, getting that 6 damage in is really good, and there's I usually kill the Slime Queen first, but I've noted like there's also been a discussion today on the forums about just killing the Slimer and then killing that and just leaving the Slime Queen alive, and there's a lot of validity to that. But usually, what I like to do is I like to get the Slime Queen down to exactly 10 HP. Then on the next turn, get them down to 5 or 6 HP at most, and then kill them. That spreads out the damage of the Slimers the most because you're not double splitting. And kind of just like gives you a turn or two of a break. But I can easily see just dealing with the Slime Queen and killing the Slimer. Yeah, one thing I noticed is that unfortunately, I wanted to be killing the Slime Queen here, and this 3 damage heavy is not going to let me do it. I think I keep it anyway because I still need to do damage. And if really worst case scenario, I could do the 2 damage here to put the Slime Queen down first. So I'm just trying to look for ways to survive. Um, Both of these shield sides are great. They will keep any 2 heroes alive. But unfortunately, unless I kill one of these 2, that's not good enough. The Caldera can't generate any block. I would have to reroll the Thief for blocking, and they still can't do it. So I guess the Brute, I might reroll the Brute for stun, which I do. And I guess I got lucky hit with the Druid. Except I am now noticing very obviously that if I kill the Slime Queen, one of my characters still dies. So I do actually choose to spike down the Slimer here. And this is also where I'm like, maybe it's a good idea to just do this all the time. Because I saw how the rest of this fight goes. Turns out pretty good. Being able to just stun the Slime Queen kind of makes things a little trivial for me. So I pretty much do that all the time. Yeah, if I roll this side, I'm just going to keep it if I can stop the Slime Queen from damaging me. I can also use Balance here to not split the Slime Queen, kill that Slimelet, and heal everybody. It's great. So yeah, that was a very good move. Looking at this roll right here, I noticed that the Slime Queen has 5 health, and this will do 3 damage because of burst and that. So I'm like, I'll re-roll, hope to get a 2 damage, and then if not, I'll just hit the Slimelet and bank the mana. Because no one's dying right now, so the Slime Queen dying is not like the most important thing in the universe, but it's still good. And then yeah, I can choose to either hit the Slimelet so they're at only 1 HP, or hit the Slimer so that way if I get a Scald, I will be able to Scald immediately. So I picked the Slimer just because, hey, setting up Scald is never a bad thing. And I just get these rolls are excellent. I don't have to Scald. I don't have to do anything. If I'm not mistaken, I mess around here being like, oh, maybe I could do half more damage if I hit this way instead, which I'm pretty sure I do. Yeah, and it's just a kill. But we were winning this fight anyway. All right, choice number 4 for items. We have the Hissing Ring. Hissing Ring, I think, is incredible. I do not like sides that replace the middle side, but man, if you're going to replace it with a side that a tier 3 hero has, that's pretty good for a level 3. I think Hissing Ring's probably like my highest pick percent. It's very high. It is very strong, and poison on bosses is just incredible. Unless the only boss that I don't think this is incredible on is the oh man, why can I not remember their name? The boss that hides in the back and summons a whole bunch of skeletons. Hold on, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna open up Slice and Dice on my actual desktop and look to see what their name is. The Lich. Yeah, there you go. The Lich is the only hero I won't poison, and they are potentially the one that's coming up next. But other than that, this Hissing Ring is great. In my mind, it doesn't fall off or even at the very end of the game. Reflective Gauntlets is pretty cool. I love items that do things like this, but I've also noticed that there are surprisingly few tier 3 heroes that I think Reflective Gauntlets are good on. And some of the ones that I think Reflective Gauntlets are good on aren't heroes that I want to be picking anyway. So it theoretically would make them pickable, but I went over all the hero lists and there were very few that I could find. I kind of wish I wasn't doing the recording so I could talk it through, but I literally have gone through every single hero who's tier 3 and been like, what is this good on? And it's been surprisingly few. So I'll probably pick the Hissing Ring here. I just do a double check to make sure the Reflective Gauntlets isn't incredible on any of these, and it's not on any of these choices. So yeah, Hissing Ring it is. Probably put it on the Thief because it's the biggest damage increase, even though they have the most chance of dying. A little risky, but I choose to go with it, I think. Maybe I put it on the Brute. No. Oh yeah, okay. Alright, I'm not crazy. Alright, so turn 1 on this fight looks these rolls are great. I'll accept that. Unfortunately, I would like to be killing the quartz first, but you know what? Killing a ghost is completely fine too because they do quite a lot of damage. I just don't like having a tough enemy also just spam block. And look at spamming block. What a surprise. But yeah, so I was forced to go after the ghost first, which is fine. And I have no idea if I can keep I can keep everyone alive here. Pretty easily, actually. Thanks to this rolling this side instead. Also, I could technically have bursted or scalded if I had a better damage distribution, but I choose to balance here instead. Yeah, it does nothing to the quartz, but it wasn't going to anyway, and just getting that 5 heal is very strong in the early mid game. I choose this instantly because it can go through the spam shield of the quartz. These sides are just good enough that I don't have to worry about anything, and then I cry because the brute. But the brute actually did some damage, so that's something to celebrate, right? Yep, and this fight's over. So, hey, good job. All right, on to our next upgrade, the Trapper or the Rogue. So the Trapper doesn't have a ton of health, but that's fine. Unless someone is in execute range, they only have 3 sides that do damage, and it's all just 2 damage. So on paper, unless you're fighting, the Trapper is not so great against a single target fight. Let's just say that. However, you can try to aggressively roll the growth side, and Trapper can scale pretty well. So they have tools for both single target and AoE. They just have a steady amount of damage otherwise. And they can miss, which kind of sucks. Rogue, I view very highly still, but I can understand why. Like, Rogue falls off. They fall off hard. But up until floor 12, they're pretty darn good. Even though you can't control where this damage goes, it's still free damage, and it's still a 2 damage side if you roll it as your last roll. The Rogue can't really miss. Yeah, this kind of can count as a miss, but it's just situationally so strong that I won't consider this a miss. Like, every other class is basically a damage miss, I guess, except for the Spellblade. So, like, this has good damage consistency. And as long as this poison is ticking even one time, the Rogue's overall damage, even with fewer rerolls, is higher than any other tier 2 orange. So I still really like Rogue here, but admittedly, Rogue's biggest weakness is that on really, really hard hallway fights later, where there's a lot of targets and some of them are goblins, this is a really sad sad hero to have. And that's very important. So you should choose the rogue to fill the role that I said they're good at, which is just single target damage and long fight damage. And I guess being able to dodge this if you're fighting like a Tarantus or something like that. But know that they are very weak in other fights, which turns out Caldera's really good in, Druid's really good in. Well, Birch just sucks. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure I picked the Rogue here. And I think the Rogues, I think Trapper is definitely, Trapper and Rogue, in my mind, are the top two orange picks for tier 2. And I think I picked the Rogue here. I don't remember. If you picked either of them, I wouldn't think it was a bad pick. So if I have an it's, oh no, I picked the Trapper. Wow, look at me. I'm growing as a slice and dice player. Maybe I was only picking that because I thought people would make fun of me if I picked the Rogue. But also, it's level 10, so the Rogue's time to shine has kind of gone down. And yeah, I know that the Trapper needs to aggressively reroll because some of their sides are kind of worthless unless it's situational. So I put the thing that makes the Trapper not miss on the Trapper. And I re-rolled the Trapper for some reason. Maybe it's because I'm insane. I don't know. But having the guaranteed... I mean, this kill is fine too. But I was not guaranteed to get that. That was a little risky too, but I guess I can see either way. And this fight's honestly basically over already too. Yeah. Luckily for this fight, it just isn't. If you have damage, it's fine. Okay, next item choice. Harvest. I do have a character with growth. It adds single use to both of them. And so it basically makes the druid more like AoE. You want that's good on like fast fights. And it's good to just like singly do a single target 4 damage once to in a fight like this, where there's bones and courses and stuff, than having like a 2, then a 3, then a 4, because these are going to do a ton of damage to you. But in general, I very, very rarely pick Harvest because I also very rarely pick characters that have growth sides in tier 3. And when I do, I definitely don't want their growth side to be single use. I take them for the long haul. Metal Spellbook is interesting. Shielding, I think Shielding 7 is a very useful effect because later in the game, a lot of characters are going to deal like 15 damage to a single target, or can rather, with boss fights. But the issue with Metal Spellbook is it costs 4 plus 1 because it's expensive spells, so it's super hard to cast. You have to be storing it up, and it's like a 2-turn thing. But it does cover single target blocking if you feel like your AoE sustain is good. I'm pretty sure I just random item here because in my mind, both of these are at best situational, and at worst, actually like Harvest. I think is actually a downside a lot of times. So yeah, I think I just random here, and I get a Demon Eye. Okay, well, Demon Eye is awesome on Bard, so I guess I got that going for me. And they already have Pain on this side, so you can just buff that up. That seems honestly really good. Actually, you go from healing 4 to or blocking 4 to blocking 12. That's nuts. And also, I'm okay with rolling a Demon Eye, even if no classes are good for it, just because it can also, yeah, it can also work on an okay number of tier 3 heroes, even though it's not necessarily the greatest pick. And I have good synergy with this anyway, so why not? It's fine. I moved the single target thing to here, or single use heal here, so I'm just going to accept the Bard has like chances to miss now. And I will put this on the Caldera because the Caldera can open up 2 spots. I think that's a better just organization stuff. And we go to a heavy damage fight. Yeah, this roll mostly was good. I chose to re-roll the Druid's block because even though it's good, I'm looking for damage. I still I'm a little gun shy about thinking I don't have enough damage here. So I would like to kind of more aggressively roll the Druid for damage. And I'm so worried about my damage that I'm almost tempted to just let the poison get 2 ticks off and just leave this quartz attacking me. Just to look to see. Hey, always undo if you need to. If the turn doesn't look as strong as you think it does, by all means, just undo, see what things look like, and see. hey, is it manageable if the Caldera is taking 5 damage right now for me to sneak out this extra 2 damage? It sounds crazy, but there are times where that is genuinely a very good move, and you should consider it. But nope, keep everyone alive. Keep a lot of characters topped off health wise. Is pretty good. This is an awesome snipe on the quartz, by the way. Just always roll really well. It turns out is the key to victory here. I would like to set up a scald, but you know what? I don't really have it. Maybe I gun for it. But unfortunately, yeah. So I'm messing around, seeing what's going on with this. There's no, in my mind, since this quartz is here, there's no good scald because no bone skill can actually like snipe a lot of it. But this is an okay scald. Having only 3 health left is basically the fight being over. So I chose to do that. Get good mana efficiency out of scald and play, like I said, play around with the fact that it can only damage enemies. And there you go. That's a kill. And you gotta flex on the quartz, right? You gotta just scald it first, even though it's immune, before you kill it. And here's an interesting one. Paladin and Chronos. Paladin has a cleanse. That makes them very strong. Unfortunately, the game is like that. If a character has a cleanse, they're just strong, period. They have 2 great healing sides. The 3 healing and 3 shields are excellent. But I think these last 2 sides, the mana and the 3 damage heavy, are really, really, really bad. I do not like the 3 damage heavy is garbage in this fight. It's completely opposite of what the Paladin wants to be doing. It's not. It's just. It's only situationally good. It's kind of. It doesn't do that much. It can obviously do. I mean, you can't write off 3 damage ever. But at the same time, I would much rather prefer like these heals, and I would even prefer this to be like a 2 shield or something like that. So in my mind, the Paladin is like a gambler. You have a 50-50 chance of rolling what you're looking for, and then you have a 50-50 chance of rolling something that you're sad about rolling. In theory, it's less so when you can replace this side, which I have. And cleanse is super important on the Lich. The Lich turning your sides to stone sucks. Kronos, on the other hand, is deemed a weak hero. Tier 3 blue. They don't have the craziest mana regeneration, and when they do, it's slow. Actually, let me go back to where you can see the Kronos. This side, in my mind, is good the later you go, because this duplicates a side, and it duplicates your best side. But, man, if you're duplicating the best side of 4 tier 2 heroes, it's way worse than if you're duplicating the best side of 4 tier 3 heroes. So in theory, the later this goes, the stronger this gets. And it's not incredibly strong right now. There's no like crazy side on any of my heroes that I deem as being absolutely insane. So this is good, but it's much better later, not necessarily now. Reroll is fine. I really like rerolls. I think they're very strong. This is all right. It's situational, but I won't complain with it. And then they have a chance to miss, which kind of sucks. And the biggest part about Kronos is that their spell is going to be like, hold on, I'll talk about their spell when I actually hover over it, if I ever do, because I'm a dingus and I forget this kind of stuff. One of the things that I'm noting is that I have a Demon Eye as well as this Pocket Phylactery, and I'm wondering what character would I actually want to put these on if I reroll the Bard. None of these characters look like a good, like maybe the Caldera actually is probably a decent target to put that on. I definitely wouldn't want to put it on the Paladin. And I can put it on the Kronos after I replaced the Bard. So these are all things that I'm kind of thinking about at this fight. Also, I took the hissing ring and I said it's bad in this fight. Guess what? It's bad in this fight. It's kind of rough, but hey, it was a 50-50 anyway. And who knows? I deem that it helped me get here, but maybe it didn't. And then yeah, this is kind of rough. Taking Kronos is situational, in my opinion. There will be people who will violently argue that. But yeah, now another thing that you can do is if you're struggling, just think about what other options are available to you, and if they help fill roles that you don't already have, like Warlock. Warlock has good mana generation, and they can miss, and you can cover that. But their spell is single target, and with the 2 poison side, we have good single target. And with Cult Dare, we have good single target, and like a lot of times, look at yellow, you're going to be looking at single target. So then I look at which characters have cleanse here to see which ones I would want to take if they have cleanse, which is just the shaman and the witch, and which characters have cleanse here because cleanse is just that important, right? In my opinion. So I look through the other gray heroes, and I'm just gonna hem and haw a lot, and I'm gonna look to see what characters I would be happy putting the cursed amulet on, or like the +2 to the left side. And it's basically like only the dancer. So like Kronos having this here, and I guess the leader through it, or no, I am getting a little confused here. The +2 obviously on this side is garbage, but the pain on both sides is perfectly fine. So I still have to figure out what I want to do with this. It's tempting to put this on the brute because the brute can then snipe the zombie, but it's only a 1 in 6 chance, and it's only that good early on. I guess it'll can also snipe skeletons. So there's just a lot I'm thinking about here. There's a lot back and forth of just like considering what I think the best option is. I don't like paladins. I think they have too many chances to miss, and I don't rate mana generation incredibly high on characters that I want to be blocking. And 3 damage heavy. I guess I'll shut up about that side. And I don't think Kronos is that strong either, although situationally they can be pretty nutty. Kronos can also lock down the Lich, so I guess I went with Kronos. Well, I know I went with Kronos. Spoilers, it turns out he does pretty good in this run. And immediately, the very first thing that happens is the Lich turns 3 sides to stone. So I'm like super upset. Like, well, I am super upset, but hey, guess what? I forgot. I mentioned that I didn't have a cleanse, but yes, I have 1 cleanse and I just happened to roll it immediately. Lucky me. And I like to try to keep everyone equal in health if there's no really good target. I like to try to keep everyone equal. And also, I mentioned that I do not want to be poisoning the Lich because I want to time when these happen. So, even though I have what appears to be a very, very good target for this, I poisoned the zombie because there's no way I'm not going to poison the Lich here. Because like I could have double poisoned or not double. I could poison the Lich, but man, the Lich spawning like 4 skeletons a turn, or just constantly spamming this while you're forcibly spawning skeletons is so brutal. I have lost many fights to the Lich by poisoning him, so I'm going to avoid that at like all costs. And this is fine too. It gives us time to build up the Kronos' mana sides. No, that's actually good. I'm meaning. So yeah, I mean, playing it slow, there's no problem in playing it slow here. Unless this happens, where all your mana growth sides disappear. So yeah, that roll is completely worthless. Can't do anything with it. And hey, pure dumb luck. Now I can reroll again though. And yeah, I get literally nothing but that cleanse, and I'm happy with that turn. All right, since none of my characters are currently weakened, this is a great time to trigger one of the Lich's sides that spawns 2 skeletons. I guess I reroll it for some reason, although I don't necessarily think it's the greatest. And then, yeah, I slow the Lich just to stop the weaken from happening, because these bones only get scary if you're weakened constantly. Turns out it didn't really matter that much in this particular instance. So cool, but you know what? I will gladly slow the Lich. Yeah, whenever I can. And yeah, these also get another split here, which is very tempting to maybe ignore. But you know what? This part doesn't look so bad with being or with having your people being weakened to only 2 bones. So absolutely go nuts with that. Just all your rolls kind of seem average when they're weakened. So I guess just keep average rolls, right? Yeah, I totally missed the fact that my druid's going to be turned to stone. So I was like, all right, undo this entire turn and heal the druid instead. It gives me, I get way less healing here and I get 1 less shield here, but man, that is easily the most run ending side. Well, not okay. That's not true. I won't say that. But that side definitely sucks. And now, finally, at turn like 7 against the Lich, I'm starting to feel a little bit of fatigue from the Bard rolling this reroll side. In order to stop the Bard from dying, I literally keep it here because I can't do anything else, which I find amusing. I like that a lot. But I will now prioritize balance or slow. No, I guess I. Yeah, no. I did that just to see what it looked like. But getting a couple of good balances in right now is relatively strong. I mean, it was like 8 healing or 10 healing. Good damage, getting the Lich low, and making sure that I don't necessarily won't have another turn like this for the Bard. So yeah, balance is great. Spamming out those short heals are excellent when you can. And I know this is a kill on the Lich already, 2 range damage and a kill on the bones. So that roll is perfectly fine to keep. And this fight's basically over now, so I'll just watch. And you got to go for crazy overkill here. You have to overkill as much as possible. So that slow is mandatory. Okay. So we have Blood Amulet, the counter, or the perfect synergy item with the Pocket Phylactery. Meaning I can put that on pretty much any hero I want to. Strike that. Any offensive hero that I want to. And have no real crazy downside besides not being able to just have crazy healing with the Blood Amulet, which is actually a pretty big downside. But still pretty decent. I've found that almost every class, Blood Amulet's awesome on for the Trapper and the Brood. The extra healing is almost always relevant. It's very good. Platinum Heart I also think is pretty good, but for some odd reason I don't take it that much. It's super good on. Well, I can think about it. If the Bard uses the 3 block to everybody, you can easily get like 6 max HP just by using that alone. And max HP is current health too, so it heals you technically every time you do this as well. And it works really well with rescue sides. It works really well with any kind of splash defensive side. So both of these are healing, and it's mostly like which one of the. Well, I'm kind of over itemed on defensive characters a little bit, and I'm like, now I just play the item mini or management mini game. So I could, if I took the Platinum Heart, arrange things like this, where the Pocket Phylactery goes in the Kronos, and the Bard then, if they use the 3 block, it's almost like no downside. So I think that's pretty strong, but it doesn't necessarily translate to the tier 3 grays so much. Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of taking a look. I don't know what's going through my head at the moment, but I think I'm very likely to just take Blood Amulet. It's less conditional. It can technically heal far more, and this is just so good with current items that I have that make my health so strong. Spoilers. Okay, I skipped ahead a little bit. Or did I go backwards? No, I don't think so. Yeah, I take the Blood Amulet here. I can put it on, just throw it on the Brute for now. It's perfectly acceptable. This can probably go back on the Bard if I really want. But maybe I don't. Okay, I don't. I put it on the Kronos, and look at that. Look at that. Keeps him alive. And also, I'm like 10 for 10 on rolling cleanses when I'm having a really bad cleanse side. So good job, Druid. Although the Kronos could have just hidden there, and it would have been fine. Yeah, unfortunately, I keep this hoping I'll roll some damage, and that was silly of me because I only had the Brute could do it. So like I kind of just that was stupid. But luckily I had enough good defense that it didn't really matter. And this fight is one of like the harder fights because I mean any fight with a goblin is pretty hard. Luckily there's only the one, and just killing this goblin is super important. So I hate the fact that I re-rolled what I re-rolled, and it turns out to be so bad for me. So I chose to kill this ghost because it's killing the 2, and this 1 extra damage on the druid will be fine. And yeah, I don't wanna leave this goblin alive. So I will burn all my mana instead of saving the bank to try to kill this to put this goblin in any kind of kill range. And I'm also noting my severe lack of damage right now. So that kills. That's why I kept that side in particular. And Trapper's memeing on me pretty hard. But yep, gets a clean kill here, and the Druid's just dead. So I look to see if there's anything I could have done. Maybe like leave the goblin alive and double block. But no, that goblin's gonna be spamming the shield side if I leave it alive. So unfortunately, the Druid just dies here, which is very brutal. It's not a that was not a good roll. And here it would have been so good to snipe the ghost, but unfortunately the ghost has shields, so it can't really do that easily. But I can burst it, so I can kill this ghost, which and the bard can then block itself. So I think that's the play, and I just deal with wisps, or I do whatever I'm doing right now. No, I looked at didn't think it was so great. Hey man, things are hard to figure out when you're actively the one controlling it. It's easier when you're just backseating and watching. Yeah, look at that. Kill the ghost, took no damage, and all I have to deal with is a kind of annoying wisp. And hey, the trapper joined the fight, and he can snipe both the bones and the wisp because of the Chronos. So the brute rolling absolutely terribly right now is no issue for me. And yeah, this fight's over too. All right, now we have a choice. Ludus, great damage, very reliable, very consistent. Pretty strong choice. Their biggest downside is that they obviously have no defense, so they are a glass cannon. Luckily, we have the Blood Amulet, which can just add drain to these two sides. So they have much more sustained that way. So they're pretty good. They're good. They're good damage. They're decent. I'll call it AoE damage because on these kind of fights, the 5 and 6 damage, just killing one, killing one is beautiful. So they're pretty decent overall. Bouncer, on the other hand, is not the greatest. Their kit is a little confusing. They have a ton of health. That is super awesome for Bouncer. But this 4 block is all right. It's actually definitely their best side. 2 block Revenge. You can do crazy and good stuff with this and nice stuff with this. But overall, it's still a relatively weak block. And then this is the most confusing part of the Bouncer, is they have a Steel 2 damage side, which they gain blocked for themselves if they use a different die roll, but who's going to be giving the Bouncer block? The answer is you have to be spamming burst to do it. So this side is really, really, really bad. This side is decent, potentially, but it has the same issue as the brutes, and they can miss. So overall, this kit feels very weak. So I'm pretty sure I'm just going to take the Ludus here, especially with the items that I have. No items. Oh, I guess the last thing to consider is this good on the Bouncer? And the answer is absolutely. Shield 4 Revenge is insane. It is so good. 4 damage is like obviously for this fight it's a little sad. But man, 4 damage kills it will still kill zombies in one shot. And like all the skeletons, it hits back row, so it's like a pseudo range side. That combo is great. I genuinely think that's very, very strong. So it is worth considering, but no, the Ludus is just better. Yeah, it's too tempting. And then I take away the Ludus's bad, like the Ludus's tough side of only having 6 health, and I basically then have no downside. So basically, these two are just giving 3 or 6 health, 3 health each to the Ludus, which is the greatest thing in the world, but at the same time, having a 12 health Ludus is awesome. So I'm okay with it. Also, this fight is scary. I am terrified of this fight. It would probably be worse with goblins, and I'm like, why am I keeping this 2 damage on the Ludus? It's probably scarier with goblins in the mix instead of all these snakes, but man, this is rough. This is a rough first turn too because I don't have any guarantee. Like I can, yeah, the Ludus just rolls 2 damage anyway. So I'm like, oh geez, thanks. So balance works pretty good here. Balance throws off this the wisps' ability to heal each other, and like yeah, if you notice, sure there's summoning skeletons, so next turn's not going to be great either. But man, the amount of damage I took was minimal. Although I do have this poison, which is rough. And yeah, I'm back to having a couple characters on what I call Death's Door, but that's just because I play Darkest Dungeon so much. Got a meme misroll here, but I had the extra roll to spare, so that's good. And now the brute is incredibly sad again, because if you look, the brute has to hit this snake, and this is the worst, absolute worst target by far. Yeah, the 3 damage heavy's been good in some spots, but man, when it's bad, and it hurts. Also, I'm gonna guess the bard's gonna roll the reroll side and just die. No, okay, good. So I keep that just to try to keep that bard alive, and the druid having cleanse is really nice. This almost keeps everybody alive, and if I can kill anyone hitting the Chronos, we're in shape or good shape, or the Chronos can just heal himself. So not a bad roll overall. And yet again, the 2 characters with the highest health are the ones that have heavy. It's possible I played this wrong a little bit. Maybe leaving one character at full health that I wanted to kill next turn would be good with the Brood. That's actually something I never considered. I think it's actually pretty smart to do, is to not have balanced everybody. So that way, when the wisps do heal each other, there's at least another. The target I want to be hitting is max HP. So, hey, there you go. I learned something by watching myself. Cool. And like, yeah, this brute, man, it just doesn't have any great sides. You can like snipe the snake. You can just there's like so little to do. So I hit the bones just because the wisp will heal that bones instead, and I don't care if the wisp heals the bones. That's what I'm looking at with that move. Or I can just have the wisp take 2 damage because the wisp is not going to heal this wisp, it's just going to heal the snake. So I think that's actually pretty good because I want these dead quick. And yeah, here's scary turn, like incredibly scary turn number 1. Good thing I got these rerolls. These were super clutch, letting me kind of roll whatever I want. Yeah, this is one of those you really want to look at the board state to determine if this 2 damage is worth it. Because if you can do crazy things with this 2 damage, you should keep it, even though cleansing looks really nice. So you really should plan out this turn. It takes forever, and I'm probably not going to do it in this run, but I am definitely thinking through a lot in my head on this, and I determined that it's not great. The Ludus loves rolling this too. But hey, it's part of the gamble of rerolling, I guess. And gets the 3, but hey, a nice reroll. And there you go, get a 6. All right. And also, slow is awesome here. But if I do this with the double heal, it keeps 1, 2, 3 characters alive that were potentially dying. And the Brew just has so much poison on it that unless I could have slowed, which would have put balance out of range, I couldn't really reduce this poison enough, especially because the druid, rolled nothing, which is terrible. So I am reconsidering. I'm trying to keep everyone alive here. I am saying, hey, can I kill a snake that would then keep the brute alive? And the answer is still no. So I think I just go back to my first turn because this is like somehow worse in like every way. So yep, just I think that was slightly different, but I think this is good enough. Or I say it's good enough and I just roll with it because I don't want to think any harder. All right, scary turn number 2. The rest of this fight is terrifying. There is definitely value in keeping that 4 heal, but I have to be killing these enemies. I can't let them just. I cannot let them keep attacking. So try to split out damage here as best as I can. And unfortunately, 1 snake lives with 1 health, and 3 of my characters are dying if I use this configuration. That's awful. That is so horrible. That is so unfortunate too. So I try to sneak out more damage, and then I have 3 characters still dying. But luckily, there's only 1 health on this stick. If I do it this way, it's slightly better. So, like, yeah. So I just do that. Oh, I can keep the bard alive. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Because I could choose which snake to kill based on the order of the skeletons that I killed. So I keep the bard alive. That's right. Much better play past me. And it wouldn't have mattered, luckily. But, man, that is a rough turn. And this fight looks so much easier than the last fight. It looks insane. All right, new item choice. Mana orb. Mana orb is decent. There's no downside. You can't. It has no synergy. It needs no synergy. It just gives you mana. It helps you ramp really quick. But we have. It's not. We have a long with a Chronos. You have like a long mana strategy. So you don't necessarily need to be front loading mana. And also with expensive spells, this just gets slightly worse. But I can see why this has like a lot of strength. However, you now have Demon Claw. If I look not too long or not too hard, I see a Ludus with a 5 damage Rampage. I don't think I can pass that up. I think that's way too strong. I think that's probably one of the best sides you can ever put it on. And I can just put the Pocket Phylactery back on the Chronos. This quote-unquote solves my AoE damage. So I'll be looking for exclusively single target damage afterwards. But the Ludus still has good single target damage. And I say this is solves, but that's a little disingenuous. This gives me good AoE damage, but it's also conditional on rolling it. So there is still a little bit of a gamble there. I wanted to put the Phylactery on the Chronos because it's slightly better there, but the Chronos died this round, so if you put it on there, you only get 3 health versus the ton of health you get on Bard. And this is hilariously memey of the game to decide to not even attack the Bard at all, but it literally doesn't matter because the Ludus is just going to one-shot this turn. Oh yeah, I needed the 3 shield just to prevent the spiky damage, but other than that, the Ludus literally just one-shots this fight. Okay, we have Tarantus. So notably, Tarantus, this is like the Ludus's biggest weakness. I say biggest weakness, but the Ludus is not or is guaranteed to die here unless I take the Barbarian with like the Bard side, but it's only a minor downside, and it was like a 50-50 anyway. So Barbarian has good single target damage. The top and bottom sides are like pseudo AoE because it matters like how many. There has to be more enemies for these to get strong. But the Barbarian does have decent consistent damage, and with the adding pain to the 2 left sides, this already having pain is pretty nice. Not the greatest thing in the universe, but it's pretty nice. And if I said my AoE was solved with the Ludus, certainly Barbarian is not bad single target. Then the other option is the Stalwart. So I don't, as much as I say cleansing is great, I don't like the fact that a lot of gray heroes are weak minus the cleanse, but maybe that's why they're rated, or why the rest of their sides feel a little weak. I'm coming around to Stalwart. I didn't really like Stalwart as much, but I do feel that there's really good use. They have good splash block, they have good single target block, and they have cleanse. So their kit's really good, and it can't miss either, which I appreciate. I was in my inventory seeing what it would look like if I put the pain amulet on someone else, or if I could, because if I take the Stalwart, I'm not going to put the pain amulet on him or on Stalwart. So these are all just things I'm considering. That poison side is absolutely brutal, and Chronos cannot stop that poison side. Only the Druid cleanse can take it or can stop it. But I go with Barbarian because I like the Barbarian. I think is a good pick here. I think being able to roll the Ludus can't die side is good. I keep Drain on this. I think I might. There's something to say about taking the Pocket Phylactery back on the Ludus, even though they're likely to get sniped. Keeping them alive up to the point to where you can deal enough damage to the Tarantus is good. But that would probably mean I get rid of the Rampage side. So yeah, I'm just trying to see what feels best for who should have good health. Yeah, I don't put it on there for that downside, and I think that's a good move. I want the Druid to be doing damage. So might as well just. Well, I mean, I want the Druid to be cleansing, but other than that, dealing damage is great. And yet again, the Druid as the MVP just instantly rolls cleanse every time I need it. And if I'm not mistaken, since someone's actually hitting the spider, yeah, since one of the spiders is hitting the barbarian, like yeah, that come out of this turn looking great. Barbarian took a very little amount of damage, and there's only a Tarantus left. So this is still a decent side for the barbarian if I get like any kind of healing with the rerolls I figure I'm going to, and I'm okay with bursting down the Tarantus. So I guess I rerolled the bard for some reason, which would then make this side unusable. So I don't know what I'm doing at the moment. I'm not gonna try to explain myself, but this is pretty good. Yeah, I balancing right now is not what I want. I want to be able to potentially lock down the Tarantus, or yeah, I guess I'm looking to lock down the Tarantus is like my biggest thing. I rolled the Undying side with the Barbarian. So what I'm looking to do actually is to proc the Tarantus side, which I can do right now with the Ludus's 4 damage in the burst. But I have too many spiders to deal with, so I think just clearing out spiders at the moment is going to be a better option. No need to rush trying to get that out, and also having to kill 6-7 spiders is absolutely brutal. So this 4 damage side snipes the spiders, which I'm considering because I can snipe it twice with this side. But also I'm noting that I can do 4 damage, 4 damage, 6 damage, and just kill Tarantus, which means I don't have to block Kronos anymore. Barbarian's basically no, Ludus is guaranteed to die. Barbarian's still alive. And you know what? Trying to stall this fight forever is scary because things could just spiral out of control pretty quick. The Kronos would be completely useless next turn if I let the Tarantus live. And as soon as you can kill that thing, the better you are. So yeah, I definitely just take that, say, hey, okay, cool, everything's solved, and I just look to see, hey, this can keep the barbarian alive. So let's just hold on to this because these 3 spiders are not actually killing anybody. And then I miscalculated, but the barbarian is dying. That a 7 block and heal couldn't keep the barbarian alive. Also, am I being silly? Yeah, I am. I should have rerolled the Ludus to do 4 and then the barbarian to do 6. I can't believe I missed this. Do I actually notice this? I don't think I do. Oh my goodness, I don't know. I can't believe I do this. So yeah, I'm like, well, if the barbarian's gonna die, I might as well shield and heal other people, right? Although I don't really have good damage. I can't believe I missed that. Oh my goodness. What a huge mistake to make on a horrible fight to make a mistake on. But luckily, I do have enough damage that I can get out of this just fine. I can neutralize like all the poison. So I guess it didn't matter overall, but that was a big mistake. That was a very big mistake. Turns out I need to learn how to do math. And yeah, I'm just hunting for damage. I'm hunting for a Chrono side that gets me mana so I can just kill these spiders. Yeah, and it's like, all right, I can find a way to do 1 damage hopefully before this kills anything. Yeah, there you go. Okay, good. So yeah, I lost 1 extra character when I didn't need to. And here's another scary fight that is very AoE reliant. So having the Ludus with the Rampage is very important here. And also, here's the item choice. I think I picked this pretty quick. With expensive spells, you really, really, really need to have very good mana generation because it's like what 12 or 11? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's 12 total. It's possible to cast, and I have won games with this, but this is super risky, and I don't like my mana generation that much. Whereas Serrated Stone on the Ludus basically doubles the Ludus's damage, and makes it a 7 damage rampage side, which puts all the wisps in, or 8 damage, sorry, which puts all the wisps in kill range and rampage range, and it's kind of just nutty. And I can also give an 8 damage side to the barbarian that won't hurt the barbarian. So both of these look excellent, but I might just do this for block because I think my damage is good enough already. And yeah, aggressively roll for rampage because even if the ludist like super misses, you still have almost an entire chance to just one shot whatever you want to hit. So I do some more fidgeting with items. I like to put pocket phylactery on characters that didn't die last round, just to maximize the amount of health you get this round. And even though this looks terrifying and scary, I'm not taking a lot of damage, and lucky for me, Ludus just rolls this instantly. So that's just a kill. This kill literally kills everything. So that went from an incredibly like a scary fight to a boss fight that I messed up to just craziness. And hey, look, it's another fight where the Ludus can technically one-shot it. So now we have another choice: Valkyrie and Minder. I think the Valkyrie is an interesting class. They have good like AoE shielding with the left hand side. It's pretty good. It's not incredible. It's pretty good though. And they have good single target shield. I call it shielding. Oh, you can't see the air quotes, but there is with the middle side. And then they have two damage revenge sides and a 3 damage side, which all feel a little weak. Unless you can boost these up for like killing zombies or doing that, these sides feel a little sad. Um, so yeah, overall, Valkyrie's got a weird kit, but I do appreciate Undying. I think it's pretty good. So you can't write this off. And having the option for a single target block and an AOE block is pretty good. But overall, this is more of like a damage block hybrid with really weird synergy. Ambrosia works really well with Valkyrie, so you can pick Ambrosia first into Valkyrie, but it's not that great. I look at my items just to see if giving pain and +2 to this side would be good, and it's not because everything just gets pain, and it's not good on either of these two characters to be honest. Which means I'm just going to put it on the barbarian. Uh, when I get back to the Mender, I'll explain why I think the Mender is very interesting. This is like a pseudo cleanse for poison, but is completely missing cleanse, which gets rid of my only cleanse for the team, which isn't that important for this fight. Gaining 4 max HP is pretty good. Healing 2 and getting 2 mana is okay. And the rampage version of healing, which is rescue, is in my mind very, very, very good. Oftentimes, you're going to be not superly overkilled, and healing 3 to multiple characters is great. You can also use this multiple times with like the barbarian if they have pain sides. But overall, the Mender's not so great. The Mender doesn't do a lot of like really good single target blocking, but in theory, the barbarian could. It's just not. Neither of these choices are incredible. But both of them are alright. So I do the thing that I always try to do, and I say, what sides or what heroes have I been offered already, and what heroes would I prefer to have in each color? So like I can't get the stalwart anymore. So I already don't have a cleanser in gray. And the other one is Paladin, which I actually think I already skipped too. So like I take the Valkyrie I think just because I guaranteed to not have a cleanse. I really want to hunt for the Shaman. Or the Witch. Both of them are okay. And I already can't get a cleanse on the gray side. So yeah, I take the Valkyrie. Uh not the worst thing in the world, but definitely not the best. But I wouldn't write off the size that the Valkyrie does have. This is good at kind of like trying to my thought process is to try to snipe the Wiz. I could technically double block here, and that gets the Wiz down to 1 HP. I think I do that just for kicks. I don't know. Yeah, because I can also be doing 4 damage to either one of these two. I don't know why I blocked the Druid first. I'm pretty sure I switched that. Maybe I'm just. Oh yeah, and you can kill the Wiz like that. And like in theory, blocking anything at this point doesn't really matter. So I guess I could should have blocked the Ludus instead of the Druid, but I mean that turn one was good enough, and the Ludus does so much consistent damage that it kind of doesn't matter. It always matters, but it matters much less. And I think I can't lose this fight already. There you go. I just got one list left. Wisp left. And I'm pretty sure I just roll, yeah, some damage, and it just dies instantly. And you got to go for the style kill, right? You got to kill with that shield side. All right, 2 spikers. So but even before looking at these, 2 spikers is a tough fight. They have a lot of health. They can do a lot of damage. Good thing you don't need cleanse for them. But I don't think there's any tools that I'm currently missing to beat this fight. I have really good single target damage. And I don't think these guys are really going to do too much. And I technically have good single target block, which spikers can do. So anyway, here's the item choice. Chaos Wand is pretty cool. It's pretty nifty. Unfortunately, you can't Chaos Wand and give it Drain with the amulet because it already has Drain. And I already have a side that's replacing the middle side. So I would then have 2 items which would do that. And I don't really like replacing tier 3 middle sides too much. But in situations, it's pretty good. Chaos Wand can also do kind of crazy stuff. Since it has Engage, the Weaken, I think, I'm pretty sure, goes to +2. Or, sorry, the Vulnerable. And Weaken, actually. So as long as you're hitting a full health target, it's super good. And if you can up the Chaos Wand in any way, shape, or form, it can scale out of control insanely. But it's also not necessarily needed in this or with this configuration. And I don't know who I would put it on. I don't want to put it on the Valkyrie. I don't want to put it on the Kronos, even though I could, and just give them like the this side after the single use. The Berserker is a tough sell to put it on. And now I'm also just thinking like, what do I want for? How do I want to rearrange these items to maximize my output on this fight? Neither of these items are really sticking out at me. Literally, getting a Horned Viper just for this side feels a little sad, but you know, it's something to consider. Definitely, Weaken 2 is a very strong effect. So I'm gonna skip ahead. I don't have much else to. I've been pretty tired. I don't have much else to say, and I don't remember what I pick. Oh yeah. So also, if you have 2 options, it's also good to weight how good random is by just seeing what your other options are and seeing if there are any, how many other items you think would just be like run winners if you got them. So you should just definitely know which items are available to you and know, hey, how many of these things are complete whiffs, like plus to range damage sides, and how many are great. And it turns out I don't think a lot of these are actually great for the build that I have. Also, this is a relatively new save file, so I don't have a I don't have a lot of picks on a lot of like the higher things. So I go through all these. I'm not going to talk through that. We'll see what happens. I look a little bit longer. This is a pretty important decision in my opinion. So yeah, I take the Horned Viper and I just put it on here, saying I don't want to risk randoming an item that I don't think will be useful. And hey, 2 mana Weaken's also not terrible. It's pretty good for this fight, pretty good for the dragon, pretty good for Hexia, and poison's just good all around. So I'm not unhappy with it, but it certainly could have been better. I just don't think this team has a lot of good options, honestly, for high tier items, which is super bizarre and super rare. All right, not a bad turn, not a great turn. Yeah, I'm mostly just looking to keep everybody alive, and Barbarian came in the clutch there. Yeah, takes 7 damage when the max you can get is 8 is perfectly fine too, and then just spamming shields and stuff is also completely fine. I actually don't know why I didn't spike the bottom spiker. I was going to stab the bottom spiker with the poison damage anyway, so I might as well be trying to hit the one that I'm damaging. So like, just because it's not doing any effect doesn't mean it can't be damaged. So this spiker, in theory, could have 4 less health and have these, which easily puts him in kill range. Uh, but yeah, Ludus is rolling like crazy, and you're gonna find that that's always the case when Ludus has Serrated Stone. I guess I already have my really crazy combinations, so it just worked out for me anyway. Strategic misses, by the way, with the Valkyrie rolling this side. The Druid missed the first time, perfect shields. Kronos missed the second time, perfect shields. I'm just being dumb. And that's just a kill. I have a kill. Spiker's not going to counterattack. So here we go. The last decision of the run before the fight. Witch and Forsaken. Man, Forsaken's a tough sell. Let me go in this. Let me keep up. Witch. This cleave heal is great. There are a lot of fights where you're like, especially the dragon where it does 5 damage to everyone. This is pretty good at proactively stopping it. Also, it can theoretically heal the 3 poison until you get poisoned again. Which has a cleanse, which is great. Buff sides, all right, it's decent. It's not incredible. It's not. There's no super good synergy I have here with it, so it's like okay, but it's not honestly not that good. Weakened side is great. It like can not lock down the dragon entirely, but it's a pretty good strategy just to like hit the dragon with it, especially with poison sides. The amount of damage you save from this is huge, and 3 mana generation is not so bad. The witch's spell is I can't. Yeah, the witch's spell is incredible, but with expensive spells, unfortunately, the witch gets hit really hard. As for this Forsaken, though, this is a tough class to speak up. I have an instance where like I had a Sparkly Ring and 2 reeds, so 2 reeds buffs all these sides, and Sparkly Ring will buff these. And the Forsaken actually felt pretty strong in that case, but man, I think this Forsaken really needs items to get good, and I don't have any of them. The only thing that the Forsaken has that I really like in this fight is this side right here. I know a lot of people think it's like a side where you have to be losing for it to take effect, but man, this clears poison. And if you have poison on the dragon already, nothing stalls better than just resurrecting one of your heroes and having them come back to life with full health. Unfortunately, unless it's a Ludus, but I could pocket phylactery it because I don't really need it to be rampaging. So I mean, that's something to consider. Oh, also, 2 mana generation twice is pretty bad, especially with how expensive the spell is. This 2 heal all is actually relatively okay, but I mean the fact that it doesn't actually heal the Forsaken and actually actively damages it is kind of rough. 2 heal all is pretty good, just like 4 splash heal. 2 heal all actually heals only 2 less, but it's over a wider like array of characters. Still works pretty well against the dragon. And this is also okay, but it's kind of like a tier 2 ability. So yeah, I'm pointing out. Yeah, bind also is pretty good. Bind can stop the dragon from single target sniping somebody, which I do have struggle with a little bit. Well, I say I struggle with a little bit. No, it's actually I'm pretty good with that because both the Valkyrie and Barbarian have sides that can stop the dragon from just one-shotting someone. The only nice thing about Forsaken is that I can put the Serpent Ring combo on here and not feel sad. But I don't think that's the case because I can put it also on Kronos. I guess if I really need to. And just give Kronos the weakened side. So I take the Witch. I do some item reorganizing here, like making this. I don't think this is actually that great. I give this to the Barbarian. That makes sense too. I really am highly valuing rerolls at the moment. Uh, I don't need Rampage on this side. So Ludus having Drain and plus damage is good, especially if the Barbarian's going to have this. But I mean, that you can. There is something to say for keeping this on the Barbarian. Um, just so the Barbarian can keep spamming this 6 damage side without the downside. I'm just gonna skip to where I'd spend a long time here, and I don't even know if this is the best option for me. But I get rid of the Ocular Amulet because I think these two are just better for the Barbarian, and 18 health is pretty nice. There is a world where I put this on the Ludus, but I guess this is completely fine. This just cancels everything out here. I give the Witch the healing wand and nothing else, and I end up giving Kronos. I replace the reroll with the weaken side, so this way I can also potentially weaken 3, which is nothing to be super bad about. And then like this is just the only thing I have left. There's not much to discuss there, and these 2 items are kind of worthless here. I don't want to put these on anything. The only reason I would put this on something is if they also got this amulet here, but I thought it was just too awkward with the other items that I had. And here we go. It's the dragon fight. Luckily, no Caw, but also this first turn is scary. I don't like this turn. And I'm pretty having that just to cast like a single slow at least keeps the Witch and the Valkyrie alive. So yeah, I guess I do keep that, and I just have really good damage. So stalling the dragon's ability to kill me as much as possible is nice. The Barbarian missing is rough. The Valkyrie rolling damage is also rough, but you gotta play the sides you're given. And yeah, another incredibly scary turn right now. Super scary. I there's so much to think about with this. But in theory, the Kronos having the someone else use a move twice is really good. But I re-roll it apparently. This snipes an archer and can keep the barbarian alive. This lets me salve to keep another character alive. The Ludus is my MVP this fight, so I guess I have to do that. And I just let the Valkyrie die. I could have kept that Valkyrie on dying side, which would have been nice. But I mean, my damage output is so high right now with the Ludus and Barbarian that I figure all I have to do is kill this dragon. But it is a super scary turn right now too. Yeah, MVP Ludus doing 18 damage on their own. Well, with Kronos' help, sure, of course. And luckily, I roll another damage side because man, if I was 4 damage off, I would be so sad there. But yeah, I rolled for what I could. The Witch healed, and yeah, I just kept the Ludus alive because they're guaranteed to kill the Archer. And that is a win on Standard Unfair. This is a 1 streak. I lost the one before this, and here is a quick look at the summary screen. Not a lot of deaths, but pretty consistent deaths throughout. 90 turns, 53 X's rolled. Some of those were pretty bad. Took an hour, and here's the party. This took forever, so I'm going to stop recording now, and I guess record the other one next time. All right, and here we are with run 2. Hopefully I fixed the issue of my voice being way louder than the game sounds. First thing I'm doing is I'm just showing that indeed this is a continuation of the last run. I kind of forgot to hit record before I actually hit the unfair button or the start button. So yeah, just showing that yesterday I did that run. Has all the crazy shenanigans I had before, same party. So yeah, we're jumping into the new one. I use the same curses always. And I'm not really going to explain this first fight too much. I roll really well, and honestly, if you roll well in the first couple of fights, it kind of doesn't matter too much. Small thing, I rerolled the Acolyte there just as a just because getting 1 mana might end the fight faster over like a single healing. But yeah, I'm just gonna chill and watch this one for the most part. All right, and our first hero choice. I AFK at this part, so I'll just talk while it happens for a bit. So Gladiator. Gladiator is an interesting one because their value, it's just like the Brawler. Their value is really high overall, I feel. But I also feel like they don't really do anything good. So the 2 damage engage side, is great for a fight like this, where it becomes 4 damage. But this 2 damage engage side is only 1 damage if it's not an engage. So like these values are kind of deceptive. These work a lot better if there are a lot of targets, and also in general, just like with the heavy sides, you don't necessarily want to always be attacking the highest health target. So I don't necessarily view these too high, and I kind of view this character as hold on. Wow, great start. I kind of view this character as more of like an AOE slash tanky. So he's more like a defensive option and kind of an AOE option early on, but I don't really like the kit of the Gladiator so much. Whereas Vampire, I like pretty much everything about them. I think they're actually the strongest tier 2 red. Oh yeah, I snap picked the Vampire the second I got back. But their mana generation isn't the greatest, but hey, it's still pretty decent. This middle side, I actually don't think is as bad as it appears. If you can have a turn where you can get away with this is just great. It's great for keeping people alive. It's good for just improving their max HP so that this just works better. But it's not necessarily your ideal side, so it's easily the one that's most replaceable. The top and bottom heal 5. It's just strong. Yeah, sure. With this party, you can't make full use of it, but at the same time, that any extra healing you can get is fine. Like, sure, it might be a little overkill, but the later you get in, the more likely this is going to take full effect. And then 2 damage, 2 healing is just great. We start damage. The vampire is going to be, I think, still only at 6, but you can heal that damage. You can keep yourself alive while also dealing damage. And the more characters early on you can get that can do 2 damage on their own with no anything, kind of the better. The way I like to look at it is if every character has a 2 damage side, you've basically rolled a leader with their side that gives 2 damage to everybody, and that's a good late game skill. So getting 2 damage here, I think it has everything for me. So it has a damage capability, decent damage capability. It can't miss, which I like a ton, obviously. It has good single target healing, and it has very good AoE healing, but it's situational. So Vampire's got like everything. They have synergy with a lot of items. I just pick Vampire here. No thoughts. Another fight where I just get a really good roll, and I'm checking to see if the defender's 1 damage can be the block I need to keep all my characters alive, which it wasn't. Yeah, it doesn't look like it was. So I wanted to roll for the shield to keep everyone alive because that's more important than killing an extra rat or being more efficient on damage. Because technically that was a 2 damage improvement if I kept the defender's 1 damage side, and that just perfectly kills 2 rats that I rolled there, and only 2 characters were dying. So it's just like pretty straightforward on that turn, and this fight's basically over. All right, and then first item choice, coin and ballet shoes. So coin is interesting. It has definitely some uses where it's pretty good. Basically, on a character that you always want to be rerolling anyway, coin's value is pretty high, especially if that character can't miss. So I mean, rogue technically, and the sorcerer come into mind where they just have a lot of cantrip sides, but also dancer for the same reason. And then dancer and whirl, their left hand side hits everybody, so this helps that scale really heavily. But this negative side, the dice must always be rolled, is pretty brutal. You can't choose a reroll on with any of your other characters if you roll this side correctly on your first roll. So it gets really rough. You kind of have to commit to taking certain things, and that can be absolutely brutal. Ballet shoes is one of those things that has absolutely no value on its own. The only time this will ever have value is if you have things that buff the left or right side or replace the left or right side. And so you have to take Ballet Shoes is weird because I think it would actually be better as a tier like 4 or 5 item, even though it does nothing on its own. Just because picking Ballet Shoes in hopes that you get something where Ballet Shoes is actually useful is really rough. Because you're never guaranteed to get any of that. And it's just kind of like useless on its own. So I don't rate either of these very highly. So yeah, I was looking to see if there's any character I wanted the coin on, and technically I could have thrown it on the vampire, but nah. So I roll big shield, which I don't think is a good item. I don't like the chance of missing, even though 4 shield is good. And honestly, with this fight that's coming up right now, I think I'm more likely to lose if I just have characters miss than if I don't roll the big shield, like the. So I just don't even equip it. I will keep in mind that it slightly makes like Gambler and Evoker better, but Gambler and Evoker are still not great with that item with fewer rerolls, and well, especially Evoker's not great with fewer rerolls. But yeah, and just like last run, first fight and second fight, I'm just losing characters because sometimes there's just nothing you can do. Sometimes that defender just wants to do nothing but attack, and yeah, you can't really do much about it. And if the enemy team wasn't so low on health, I would consider maybe infusing or keeping that 5 healing side, but no, they were low enough health that it's better to just try to end the fight than try to have perfect sustain. All right, so second choice of heroes. Whirl is interesting because their overall damage output obviously gets higher the more enemies there are, and having three damage sides. Well, technically, if there are 3 enemies, they have 4 3 damage sides, which is pretty nice. But obviously the major downside is that none of the AoE effects are going to be spiking down a single target, which is also very important. Especially, it's not only important. It's not important offensively as much as it is defensively. Whirl is a good activator for Caldera and stuff like that, but in general, this is one of those classes where, hey, if I took like the coin, this might be worth it to keep at least on certain fights. Like I wouldn't put it on the troll because I kind of just want to be rolling these 2 sides and nothing else, and adding 1 damage isn't going to be useful for the coin. But overall, you have to pick them if you are like severely missing AoE damage. Other than that, they're not so great. And then Caldera, I might have explained this last time, but I think they are the best tier 2 blue with expensive spells. I know people really love Jester, and Jester's mana generation is really high, and their spell allows them to be super efficient with mana too. And rerolls are great. So Jester has like a really strong kit. But Jester gets hit worse with expensive spells than Caldera, and I think Caldera on their own has like a really, really, really good kit. Anyway, they can output damage. They can be hitting targets to proc Scald, and their Scald is an incredible AoE. And they have good mana generation, and they have good single target damage too. With this, most of the time, even just having another character hit for 3 is perfectly fine. But in a fight like Troll, being able to hit for 6 at any given time is excellent. So I like the Caldera here. Even though in general, when I start, I want to try to upgrade my damage classes, I feel like these were the 2 best upgrades and damagiest upgrades. And yeah, even with expensive spells, upgrading the red and blue heroes first is oftentimes not a bad option. And also, it turns out the fight gets way easier if you just roll really well. So yeah, the snap pick the 2 mana is good because if I'm going to be infusing this turn, I'm pretty sure. So it's just like maximize the efficiency of what I get. So yeah, just keeping everybody this topped off and this alive is pretty good. I'm very happy with that turn too. But yeah, Caldera and Vampire just rolled damage, so the fight's actually just already over. So none of that actually even mattered. All right, next item pick. We have Healing Wand. Was that in the last game? I'm not sure, but I'll say it again. Replacing the right side is useful no matter what it is, especially with on fewer rerolls. You don't pick it because you want to roll this side, but man, if you would have missed, instead of having a single 4 heal, is huge. Replacing the right side also lets you aggressively reroll the character that you have it on. I'm pretty sure I said all this before, so I'll keep that brief. So I rate Healing Wand pretty highly because this effect also is pretty decent in the late game. Yeah, you can get value out of this, and it can feel good pretty much the whole run. Change of Heart, on the other hand, is a little interesting. So one thing to note with Change of Heart, it says it replaces all healing sides with shield sides, and it only retains their original value and keywords. So if a heart side is generating mana, that is not a keyword. So that mana just disappears. If you have a vampire and they are dealing damage with healing, that damage just disappears. So the Change of Heart nukes a lot of classes. A lot of people view blocking as being better than healing, which in general it is, but I also think having a combination of both is good. They'll also mention that there is synergies with blocking where there isn't synergies with healing in terms of items and keywords, like steel and things like the +1 to all blocking sides. However, this is like you're taking this in the hopes that one, you don't have to take a red hero that has that's like a vampire, or the or pretty much any most of them have that combination. So you're really limiting your pool of red heroes you can take and still use this. I mean, obviously you would take them and just not equip it, but then you just have a useless item here. For the chance that you get some kind of synergy later where this you can make really good use of this. So just like ballet shoes, Change of Heart runs into the same issue of it is so much better once this is a combo piece, just like ballet shoes. But it is the combo finisher, not the combo starter. So you're grabbing a combo finisher in hopes that in the future you find a combo starter. Is how I look at this. Your mileage may vary with Change of Heart. You might find that hey, the classes you like picking don't have the downsides of Change of Heart, or it's just so good later on that it's just worth it to pick and hold on to it and do nothing with. But I don't like that, so I'm gonna probably snap pick Healing Wand here. Yeah, I figure I'm gonna be more likely re-rolling the Caldera than the Thief, so I put it on the Caldera. Then yeah, I mean that single use side, you can't get full value out of it here anyway, and yeah, this damage output is crazy on this team right now. So I think I'll fly through a lot of the early game here. And yeah, I'm looking just to see if I have like complete lethal, which I don't. But at this point, this fight was basically over after turn 1. So as long as no one's dying, I can just keep any roll, and I will win no matter what. At least that's how. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if I didn't. Cool. So our next hero upgrade, and this is super sad. As I mentioned before, don't like Brute. They're basically the same as the option before, but they have 2 more health and I guess a more situational defensive side. So I've explained the Brute before, but I don't necessarily. I'm not necessarily looking for these choices or for this. Whereas, and then Guardian's a personal meme favorite for everybody, where they say Guardian's like absolutely terrible, and to be quite frank, they're not great. The engage side gets absolutely nuked if you take start damaged. And start damage is by far the friendliest curse to take. So these engaged shield sides are basically just 2 shield sides. With a vampire, that's way less true. But I guess the thought process is usually you want to be shielding the characters that are dying. not the characters that are at full health. And it's because it's rare, especially early game, that a character is at full health and they are just dying. So not only do you have to heal to get characters up to full health, but you're also potentially then having to use all of your healing and shielding on the exact same target. And usually that's just overkill in every case when you have early on in the game. And then they have 2 shield cleave, which is awesome. Shield for 6. This is a great side. It's definitely their best side. They have a 3 damage cleave, which has the same issues of Whirl, where it can easily just be a single damage, and a lot of times you're not drafting a gray hero for damage, and then they can miss twice. So this hero these 4 sides are weighted so heavily that these 2 sides are actually just blanks. So they have the highest chance of missing, and they have a situational toolkit at best with 1 side that's great. So Guardian is really, really, really bad. Even if you can replace these 2 sides, they're not the best blocker in the world, but they are acceptable. So you basically already have to have an item that kind of covers the Guardian for this to be a good pick. So I'm guessing I take the Brute. Even though I don't like the Brute, for the record. Even though this is 2 runs in a row where I take them. And in this fight, the Brute is completely acceptable. Like, dealing 3 damage to the Ogre, it's the only target anyway. But my damage is so high that, as for the last fights, it kind of just doesn't matter. Alright, next item set. Blood Chalice. Self shield 1 for each wasted point of healing you receive. Runs into a similar issue. I mean, I have a vampire, so I can get wasted healing. Absolutely. So Blood Chalice is good in that regard, because any overhealing will just also shield. So it's like shield now, or heal now and shield and heal next turn, I guess is basically what it would be if you're hitting a character that's getting hit. It's a weird way to look at it, but yeah, it's cool. It works really well with characters that have steel sides, which notably I have the Brute, so that's not great. You can make good use out of this, but it's very wonky to do so. It gets better later when things hit harder on single targets, but overall it's still kind of situational. And honestly, if you don't have characters like the vampire, this is like hard to proc anyway, especially with start damaged. And then Iron Pendant is just 1 to all incoming shields, which is a little bit more consistent, and it synergizes really well with a gray hero that I would like to have, which is the Monk. I don't know why. Yeah, I was just kind of noting that it'd be really good if I had steel or steel sides. And then that pendant is excellent on the Monk, because you want the Monk to be redirecting like crazy, and they will get the +1 if they have that item equipped, no matter who they target in this version. So it is really strong. Iron Pendant also synergizes pretty well with the Brute and because the Brute has 2 sides and also the Gladiator have two damage sides that block. So the Brute sustain is just insane right now. I'm looking to guarantee that I don't have a character dying, so I could keep that side for the Vampire to keep the Thief alive. But the Vampire can't miss, and as long as I roll basically anything with them, I'm guaranteed to either keep the Thief alive or have enough damage that I can kill a rat, and then therefore keep the Thief alive. I chose to, instead of bursting a rat, just to stave 5 damage with the Thief, to infuse, because it's slightly more healing overall. But, anything works there. And this fight went pretty clean early. Again, having consistent damage on a team is super good. So I don't think still not gonna struggle with any of these. I'm just looking to make sure no one will die with that roll that I have, which they wouldn't, because the targets are done and this fight's basically over too. Very first thing to consider with this fight is just the fight that you're going up against. This boss fight, we didn't have this boss fight last time, so I'll explain a little bit more. This boss fight, you definitely need damage. One of the positives for like poisons and 4 damage sides with this fight in particular is, hey, 4 damage side stops this from happening and lets you spike these down. So 4 damage sides are incredible with this. And then poison ticks, it procs the immunity, and then the next turn starts. So you don't lose any damage if this side gets triggered by poison from the end of the turn. So it's just a nifty little interaction. We don't necessarily have either of those right now, but Caldera's single use 6 damage can do 4 damage when you bring them to exactly this point. So that's definitely something to keep in mind here. I'm just going to instant decline this because there's no way I will take any challenge with this fight, because this fight on one bad roll will kind of just end your run. And we are given this hero choice of Dabbler and Warden. Dabbler is good. They can't miss. They have good health. I like all this. However, they're definitely more of a of a defensive class. 1 second. They are more of a defensive class than an offensive class for sure. Sure, that 3 damage and 2 damage side are nice, and mana generation can easily convert into a lot of damage. But man, having 4 healing, 2 shield, 2 shields is pretty defensive, and it's also very good defensively too. So in theory, we have like a class that's half defensive, a class that's great at healing, and then potentially another class that's really defensive. But if you've noticed, our output hasn't been that bad this game, just because Vampire can do so much damage and Caldera as well. So Dabbler is still a pretty good pick here. Just know they are definitely the tankiest, most defensive orange option, but they're still good at offense even though they have that. So I think Dabbler is very strong. And then the Warden is an upgrade to the Defender that's a little weird, but it'll also still kind of decent. If you literally copy and paste the Defender over the Warden, you're getting 2 shields here, 1 shield here, 1 damage here, 1 damage here, and that's it. So you're going up 5 total stats with basically the exact same kit. But 3 extra health is nice, and these shields are great. Like a 4 shield is great, but still being able to roll like a 1 shield's a little weird. And then you have a slight damage upgrade with this. So yeah, I'm guessing I'm gonna take the Dabbler here. This also a couple other things to keep in mind with this fight. The damage on them is very, very high if you can't kill. So yeah, I'm looking to see, like, all right, the Dabbler is not a huge damage upgrade to the Thief necessarily, but the Dabbler is a huge, huge defensive upgrade. Whereas the Warden is not as huge of a defensive upgrade, but has like some really good blocking sides and is a damage upgrade, but kind of in the same manner. I mean, the Warden is slightly more offensive of an upgrade, but I think they're slightly worse of a class. And I still don't want to equip the big shield on anyone because I don't have anything that can cover the bottom side, and I still really don't want to miss. And I don't dislike my defense here. So when I fight, I like to kill Githa first, Anya second, and Magret third. The reason is Magret can completely whiff and heal when no healing can be done. And Githa has 2 sides that are really difficult to manage. I mean, with a Brute that has really high health and this blocking, this side is way easier to manage. But I will always hit Githa first. But Githa's other side is a 3 damage weaken cleave, and the vast majority of characters only have 1 or 2 value on a lot of their sides. So what Githa says effectively is make it so that if they get that attack off, you are in trouble because you need to be spiking down these characters to survive. And the amount of extra damage you take because of the damage that you can't do and the blocking that you can't do from that side is easily in my mind, the easiest way to lose this run or lose this fight. And then we don't have cleanse. So Agnes poisoning is also kind of brutal, and we're pretty just lucky that they aren't actually doing that. Yeah, Brute rolled the unfortunately the side that's great at dealing with this fight otherwise, but one turn late. But no problems here. The infuse heals so much that it's absolutely insane, especially with this fight where they're spreading out their damage. And yeah, just this turn. After seeing this turn and seeing like even if I wanted to, I could just take another infuse, which would heal virtually full. Yeah, I take an infuse guaranteed here. I'm looking to spike down with the Caldera. That's the reason I choose to reroll this one in particular. But whatever, get the same thing. Don't get the spike down, but still can proc this, which is perfect, and I still get the infuse off. So I'm sitting really good at this fight, or with this fight already. And then yeah, Magritte continues to roll the healing, so I don't really have to worry about my health anymore. So I can just kind of aggressively roll for damage. And yep, I get the damage. I was tempted to scald here, but Magritte's just going to heal that 2 health anyway, and I'd rather have 1 more mana here than 1 damage here, just in case. Even though there's not really anything they can do that's really scary anymore. And yeah, it's just like, all right, I had a mana excess, but with 2, I might as well just infuse. I get enough value out of it, it doesn't matter, and this fight's effectively over. Cool. Item choice. We have a Scrying Bowl and a Whetstone. So the Scrying Bowl, good value. It's not incredible value, but it's consistent value, it's front-loaded value, and even with expensive spells, mana is good. So it's not bad. I definitely like Scrying Bowl, but I don't rely super heavy on mana. We also have good mana generation, so it's not bad. Also, a thing to keep in mind is that this spell is 4 and this spell is 4. And the Caldera, like, they generate only 2 mana, and Caldera has a 50-50 chance of generating 2 mana. So it's possible that this mana will only be usable for burst, unless Caldera rolls specifically the attack and 1 mana side. So it's a little awkward. It's nothing that's so weird that you wouldn't already take it, or it's not going to tip the Scrying Bowl above to say, oh, it's totally takeable now, or do the opposite and say, oh, it's totally untakeable now. And the Whetstone, great on the Dabbler, because the Dabbler has 2 blank basic damage sides. Good on the Defender, but we got rid of the Warden, which has the 2 basic damage sides. But so the Whetstone's interesting. The Whetstone does give you a 4 damage side with the Dabbler, which is also another thing to keep in mind. And looking at heroes, so here's another thing: does that Whetstone fall off? How many heroes actually have a blank basic damage side? So there's 2 gray heroes that do. There's, I believe, 2. Yeah, there's 2 yellow heroes that do, which is the leader and the veteran. And the veteran gets crazy good value out of it, and the leader also gets up to 4 damage on it. And then the Ludus, I think, is the only gray hero. So there's a lot of like tier 3 heroes that are decent. I take the Whetstone. In general, I think both of them could work, but especially with the quartz, there being 2 quartzes here, I'm just looking for more damage, physical damage in particular. Yeah, and I just always roll really well, apparently. Yeah, spiking down a quartz is fine. Like, I can use the Brute Vampire to kill the top quartz, which doesn't keep the defender alive, by the way. So I'll have to stab the bones to keep the vampire alive, and then still block the defender. So it's a little awkward of a turn if I want to nullify the 2 damage weakened side. So I'm kind of just considering what I want to kill here on this turn, and what my game plan is, because I have a good roll and this seems good, but I want to verify that it's good because I have 2 heroes dying. A lot of times if I have multiple heroes dying, I'm like, oh, they're only dying by 1 and 2, so I clearly have enough. This is totally fine. And then I play my turn, and suddenly 1 hero is still dead, and I can't do anything about it. So it's always good to double check. Next roll, yep, just still, or nah, I re-rolled that just to see how things looked, see if that could have gotten things a little bit better, damage sneaking out, and yeah, I'm fine with the Brute stunning the quartz, especially because it has shields. Dabbler's rolling good damage. My whole team is rolling good damage, actually, so... Yeah, and you might as well burn your mana on defensive things with just the Courts Alive. So, yeah, Infuse is excellent. And that's a kill. Clean fight. Alright, next upgrade. Bard and Cleric. I used Bard last time. I still don't think Bard's bad, but I also don't think they're great. And then Cleric has a cleanse and 2 insanely good defensive sides. My biggest issue with Cleric is I feel like, just like other blocking classes, I feel like they're basically a gambler, but for blocking. Their gambling sides are much better, but I do not want 1 mana almost ever when I'm rolling the Cleric for any reason. And so, like, there's like a 50-50 chance I'm going to roll something on the first turn that I absolutely like feel like I have to reroll. And then if I do roll this and I'm looking for cleanse, it's really risky to reroll it. So it's puts you in a lot of awkward situations. However, I just straight up don't have a cleanse right now. So that cleanse is super important, even if the rest of their kit's bad. I can also use the big shield on the cleric. In my mind, if I feel like the mana signs are misses anyway, or they're not misses. Obviously, they're not misses. But if I feel that they're super weak, I might just be like, all right, hey, I'll just replace 2 1 mana sides with 1 block 4 side. And just, if I do that, I will more aggressively keep whatever I roll. I do like the Bard and the rerolling. They can't make use of the big shield. Cleric has cleanse, and you can't downplay how good that is, even with the rest of their kit being so bad. And yeah, I just throw the big shield on the Cleric, saying, hey, now the Cleric has 4 really good block sides and 2 misses. So they're just like if the Guardian was good, which they're not. So yeah, not the greatest pick. I didn't like either. I didn't like that choice very much. But I mean, what can you do? The only side that would have felt great is the monk, because the monk's just busted. And yeah, even though my damage output has been great this whole game, I literally roll 0 damage this first turn, which you never want to be doing. You never want to be not pushing down a single thing. So that's scary turn 1 for this fight. Another thing to note is this heavy side is also especially punishing. I have a Dabbler who could one-shot this zombie. And this heavy side has to hit the zombie. So if I hit it, it's just wasted damage if I ever get the 4 damage side. But if you're noticing, I'm not rolling that 4 damage side, and I'm going to have to do something eventually. So it's like either I go to burst down like a bones and just to try to make this fight more manageable, or I keep the mana. In my mind, that's a toss-up. If I were to have bursted, I lose 3 mana, deal 2 damage, and block for 4. Which, it's the Brute anyway, so they have the highest life. So that would be not so bad. Oh, well, I don't remember I think I was hitting the Dabbler. So that would have put 2 characters in, or off death's door this turn, if I used it, but I would have no mana. And right now, if you're looking, if I generate even 1 mana, I keep every single character alive. So even though this turn looks scary, it's not that scary. Your character, like, Infuse alone is just going to make this fight much, much easier. And I get, finally, the 4 damage side. It's still, in my mind, completely worth it to Infuse here. Maybe? Yeah, I mean, I don't even need to Infuse here. But, I mean, Scalding isn't great. Bursting at least lets me store more mana, even though like both options weren't necessarily that great. But honestly, like nothing I did was incredible there, so I'm not gonna waste a lot of time thinking, oh, what if, that kind of stuff. And now my characters are rolling damage again, so I'm feeling and this fight's mostly over anyway. So yeah, another fight that was a little scary, but not no problem. Yeah, I was like so confidently hovering over the done rolling button because I'm like, my team's got good damage, but yeah. All right, next item set. Door and Troll's Nose. Notably, the door on the cleric is all right. The it do, obviously any shield side that does two things is going to be better. This is going to be much better on. But right now on this fight, door is going to do absolutely nothing. Door on cleric is decent. I mean, it turns 4 blocking sides into 4 incredibly good blocking sides. Also, keep in mind, if I had change of heart, door, that's also a thing. You know, like synergies with shield sides. So that's a thing. I would have hit this run, but can't guarantee it. But man, when this is good, this is good. If you're struggling with AOE fights, this door is incredible. Just because it helps you sustain, but it's also much better if you have like the cleave shield sides. Unfortunately, which is just a guardian, or in my mind, kind of the monk. Or actually no, or the jester, or the cleric or bard. Sorry, I was just listing off random things apparently. With the bard having +2 to heal or block everybody is insane against AOE fights. So door's got good value, but it's definitely conditional. And like I said, in this fight, it's doing absolutely nothing. And Troll's Nose is not conditional at all. You generate 1 health each turn. As long as you have damage on you, it's just going to proc at all times. It's got good value, but not great value. The longer a fight goes, the more value you can sneak out of it. Unfortunately, a lot of the fights that are super difficult are not going to let you get a lot of turns. That's why they're tough. So I take the door saying I'm going to be okay with this fight. I don't need any extra value this fight at all. I cry every time I see the heavy mallet going after the spiker, but nothing I can do about it. Because yeah, I do not like quartzes. I would like them dead first. And I'm tempted to say, yeah, I was tempted. None of my spells felt that great right now, and infuse will be excellent on this turn. So I'm thinking, yeah, okay, infuse is absolutely worth it here. Caldera can just nuke the quartz right now, and then I keep the healing just because I can't guarantee roll anything right now, and I get like just a crazy amount of healing going on. Don't even need to. Well, I can't use infuse, but didn't need to infuse to just almost top off my whole party. And with this roll in particular, it's kind of looking like this fight's over. Yeah, that's a guaranteed stun too. So it's just like, all right, let's. Yeah, this fight's basically over. So yeah, a little rocky to start just with what was rolled, but still managed to have a decent turns after it. All right, now we're fighting the Rotten. We fought the Lich last time. Man, why can I never remember the name of that boss? And this fight is kind of the opposite. This fight, you want to be doing as much damage as you can as fast as you can. Whereas with the Lich, you kind of want to time your damage, stall when things are easy, make sure you're waiting for the right turn to do stuff. And the Rotten, you just want everything to die as fast as humanly possible because that's what they're trying to do to you, and you can't really stop it. So damage is really good here. So I have choices between Leader and Kronos. Leader, I didn't really like the Leader too much initially, but I'm kind of warming up to him a lot. Just being able to say, hey, I do 10 damage this turn is pretty darn valuable, especially like 2 or 3 turns into a fight. And honestly, even with this fight where 2 attacks kill bones, 2 attacks kill bones, so even a single one of these can snipe 2 bones, which is not terrible. The 3 damage sides are kind of not the greatest, but they're all right. Also, keep in mind we have the +1 to basic damage sides. So Leader is one of the classes that we were kind of looking for. This reroll side gets better as the game goes on. I explained this last time, so I won't go crazy into it. But it lets you pick your best side and roll it again. And then this side right here is situationally good. It technically is not really the damage you're looking for in your yellow hero. This is definitely a support kind of thing, and you can get good value out of it, but it's not like the greatest side. So they have a really good single target damage side, a couple of good like just general damage sides, and then this side, which I am rating higher and higher the more I play this game. So they're pretty good. They're decent health, all that. Chronos, I talked about Chronos last time. Chronos is situationally good. With expensive spells, they're all right because, you know, 3 of the things that they do aren't mana dependent. But Chronos thrives in fights that go long. I'm going to hit play here because I think about this for a little while. Chronos notably can lock down 2 of the things Rotten does entirely. So if you do have mana and you do have that mana bank and you pick Chronos, you can stop the Rotten from poisoning in the mid to late fight, and you can stop the Rotten from summoning. So the slow is incredibly good against the Rotten. But obviously, since it costs like 5 mana with expensive spells, you can only be casting it later on in the fight. And its damage output is very low. Still good, but it's not so great here. You really want to be hitting the Rotten very hard and very quickly. It'd be much better if this were the Lich, and I would definitely have to reconsider which one of these characters I would pick if this was the Lich. But Leader's looking much better of a choice. So let's skip ahead. Yeah, I picked the Leader. I moved the Whetstone over to the Leader because I would rather have 2 sides that can one-shot a skeleton than one. Even though there is something to say about putting this on the Dabbler so you can try to roll this side. Also, I think I'm going to aggressively be rolling for these 3 sides. So I want the Leader to not be able to miss. That's why I put the healing trinket on the Leader. I'm more okay with kind of just taking whatever Caldera rolls here because I want to generate mana for Scalding. And then if not, their impact is less swingy than this Leader's impact. So I can put Iron Pendant on pretty much anyone because no one has self-shielding anymore. And so I just put it on the character I thought has item spots and is the most likely to maybe be close to death, which Vampire sounds silly now, saying that out loud, but, you know, what can you do? Oh, yeah, I also forgot I had the door. The most obvious pro tip in the world is make sure you use your door block side, before you kill enough enemies that it's down to 3 again. Yeah, one nice thing about that summon was that it put the door back on 3, but honestly, the door is not going to be what's going to save me this fight. Even though it was useful last round. So yeah, I immediately forgot that advice that I just gave and had to undo to actually get door value. And I don't know why I'm undoing here. That seemed to be my play even from the beginning, but I can't scald. I don't know. Oh, I guess I could scald with mana. So if I really wanted to burst down, which I guess, yeah, I do, I can double generate mana and scald here. The main difference is that, you know, I take a little bit more damage, maybe. I definitely deal more damage this way. Actually, don't quote me on that. I'm not going to sit here and do the math. But yeah, I think I ended up just going with the initial. This turn gets a little tricky, so just bear with me. I can even burst down the imp, yeah, to save that much more damage. And now this fight is looking like I kind of just want the Leader to roll that middle side twice, and I'm good to go. But there's plenty of damage to keep, and yeah, I will gladly keep the 4 damage with the Leader because there's only a 1 in 6 chance I'm going to roll something better. So Cleric's aggressively rolling for block. With poison, it's best to even overblock to just get your basic health as high as you possibly can. So if there's a character that's like down to 1 but it's not poisoned, and a character that's already at like 2 but they're poisoned, I would still continue to heal or block that character just to top off the poison side as much as possible. But overall, I have infuse, so I'm not super worried about poison. And one poison with them also then taking your max HP afterwards is not a huge issue. So hey, I just clean fight, have great damage output. Gotta go for the biggest overkill possible, you know. And yeah, next item choice. So we have Blood Amulet and Ruby. I believe we saw Blood Amulet last round, and yeah, most orange and yellow heroes can make incredibly good use of Blood Amulet. Leader, notably, doesn't really have the greatest, but it's still not bad on Leader. You just have one less side it applies to, but man, the side it applies to is very good because it's like an AoE heal then too. And then Ruby is notably very good on Vampire, or if you have Regen. The reason it's good on Vampire is because Vampire can self-heal. So they're like almost guaranteed to just heal themselves up into this healing as well. And it's good on regen because if you have 1 regen and 2 incoming healing, it turns into 3 regen immediately on that character, which is nutty. So both of these are decent, but Blood Amulet in my mind scales later into the game and has less like conditional usefulness. So like 2 damage duplicate, you put any keyword on this side and it's good. But obviously the leader's leftmost side can't get keywords. So yeah, just looking at all the things that Blood Amulet can go on, that's good. Because it's like not great on the Venom. It's fine on the Assassin. It's incredible on the Ludus. It's decent on the Fencer. It's decent on the Sharp Shot too, even though I don't like the Sharp Shot. I do not recommend taking them pretty much. So I now also say like what other items are good. And then I'm also looking for like if I take the thing that's good on the Vampire, which is the healing, what characters is it really good for? And it's really good on the Alchemist. It's kind of okay on anything else, but also keep in mind this incoming healing does not, if you heal and mana, does not give you extra mana. So it doesn't like take a 2 mana 2 healing or yeah side and give it 4 mana for healing. It just gives you 4 healing and 2 mana still. So yeah, I take the Blood Amulet. I can put it on either of these right now, and most likely I'll get very good use out of it anyway. And I didn't think either of those were particularly good for this fight, so that's another thing to consider. I think this is the fight where I also forget that the cleric gets pain next turn. Yeah, I've also I could have spiked the imp there, and I might undo to spike it again. But I found that spawns do quite a lot of damage, and the longer you leave them alive, the more they kind of suck. And they're actually pretty easy to kill. So especially like late game. So it's possible to just I tend to want to just burst down the spawn, but I also feel like if I have no real issues here dealing damage, then I should just kill the imp to not let them just summon like crazy while I'm waiting. And then the spawn just decides to summon anyway, so unfortunate. Here I'm still looking to deal damage. This turn I'm not taking a lot of damage, so the more damage output I can give, the better. Yeah, since the cleric has like the 2 block 2 shield, if they hit themselves, they still block for 2 or heal for 2, however you want to look at it. So yeah, when they have pain on them, they can pretty much only target themselves. Well, they can target anyone, but it's much nicer this way. I chose not to infuse there. I could have with how my health was, but I kind of just want to see what the next turn is like, and I'm willing to lose a mana for that. Yeah, I can only do fancy things here. So I'm tempted to just gain a bazillion mana and like if I burst Scald, I still leave the spawn alive, so that seems pretty bad. But I can also do like that and keep the Caldera alive, although he's not alive on a lot. Killing the spawn seems pretty good here. So maybe I likely find a solution that kills the spawn instead. And then if I I can like double use the vampire just to keep everyone super topped off. And I'm fine with that too. That's just a lot of max HP. I didn't really have any good offensive options this turn anyway, so keeping characters topped off that are poisoned is good because this Basilisk is going nuts on poison. And the Cleric is not rolling any anti-poison. Yeah, and that leader rolling the 2 damage side is alright, but I want to wait for the Basilisk to be the only character left before I really commit to something like that, because of how many sides get petrified. And hey, what do you know? I just roll that immediately, and I have a burst, so the fight's over. All right, next hero choice, Sharpshot and Valkyrie. So Sharpshot has like this 5 damage execute, which is conditionally incredibly good. It even with tough monsters, this side is super valuable with smaller enemies. They have a 3 damage range side, which I don't necessarily value ranged incredibly highly. Like obviously in this fight, range is pretty good, but you can manage without having ranged against whizzes. And then 2 damage ranged cleave, which is pretty like all this is good for killing larger amounts of smaller monsters. And this obviously is insane against the whiz. Like just being able to execute the whiz from the back row. It's good against Cause as well when they retreat. But having 2 misses and then having again, one of the things that I always like to judge with Sharpshot is how good are they single target. If it was just the alpha, obviously I wouldn't worry about it because it's just an alpha. But if it was just an alpha, what's the Sharpshot's damage output? It's 3, 2, and 3, and 0, 0, 0. So it's like not that great. It's very underwhelming for a tier 3 hero when you have like a Ludus that can do 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can only ever use this once the fight is kind of effectively over against a single target, but not necessarily the case. So it's a little rough. I feel that this kit just values ranged a little too much, and there aren't enough ranged synergies that make me think that they're worth it. Like enemies in the back feel really like unfair a lot of times, but I've also noticed in my experience that you do not need to kill them first. I don't think there's almost any fight in the entire game where a ranged side is necessary to win. Yeah, it kind of sucks against snipers, and yeah, it sucks if it's like a whiz and there's like a million other enemies on the board. But there always seems to be ways that you can just front load damage and block well, where it's not necessary. Anyway, so I don't take Sharpshot almost ever. Valkyrie is also notably not so great, but with the door, suddenly these 3 sides become insane. 2 block, 2 revenge it's all right, but if you double that, zombies die to this counter. In my mind, it's very strong. I think we had something like that last run, or potentially something like that last run. And then 5 shield to everybody, or let everybody cast a 5 shield is also just kind of nuts. It's anti-synergetic with the leader's side, but whatever. You have like potentially good damage, single target block, AoE block, and then whatever a side you don't really care about in a miss. With the current item set that I have, I don't really have stuff that replaces this in a really good manner, and I do have things that synergize really well with the Valkyrie's kit. So I am leaning towards the Valkyrie. I guess interestingly, I should look at the rest of this run and see if the Sharpshot would have been good. Knowing that I can't just guarantee what the Sharpshot rolls either, so I can't just be like, oh, every single turn, if I had the 5 damage execute, it would have been great. But I mean, I would like to see if there are more situations where maybe I'm undervaluing what the sharp shot does. But yeah, taking a look at my items, not being able to replace both the two right sides, and having the door for the Valkyrie all seems really, really, really good for taking the Valkyrie. But yes, there is a very compelling argument for taking the execute on the sharp shot just to snipe the whiz. But in this very particular fight, the whiz is not going to be that dangerous. The only way the whiz will be dangerous is if the alpha summons like 3 or 4 like wolves, and I have like no consistent damage. That's like the only way I think it's scary. Yeah, I'm not going to put the big shield on anyone. I don't think for the rest of the game. And yeah, so I picked Valkyrie here. And then, hey, turn 1, 10 damage against the alpha is great. And then you might as well just aggressively reroll for, yeah, like the Dabbler got their 3 damage side. And it's technically better for the vampire to heal themselves too. So, yeah, this is looking like a... Oh, it was almost looking like a 2-turn victory there. But instead, hey, the leader vampire combo has like the kill on the alpha. So, even better, the Valkyrie can flex and double their damage there. But oh yeah, and it wouldn't have been a kill with the leader anyway because it would have stolen the bones. But you know, a full party of tier 2 and 3 heroes versus a single whiz is not that scary. You know, got to keep that sweet 4 damage, and I think I keep the healing just for memes, honestly, at this point, because no one was dying and gotta pad those healing stats, I guess. All right, and here is the scary fight. Notably, I just took a Valkyrie, which doesn't have a cleanse, and I have a Vampire, which doesn't have a cleanse, against the Goblins, which is like the hardest hallway fight in the game, with snakes instead of wisps. So cleansing is great because you want to kill the Goblins first. I don't have any cleanses right now, so this fight is scary. So I'm given 2 options. I'm given the Serrated Stone, which we had last time and we used to great effect, and the Glyph of Purity. So I just noted that I don't have any cleanse. And on a side that's pretty good with the Valkyrie, I can add cleanse to it. I say pretty good, I meant for this fight because there are more than 4 enemies. And so that 4 block revenge is pretty nice. It gives cleanse. It means that I don't have to try to roll a cleanse hero for red for their tier 3. And overall, I think every single red top and gray top and bottom, besides I think the witch, makes use of these sides or of this in full. So it's a pretty good item. However, with this fight, Serrated Stone can put the leader's 3, aka 4 damage right now sides to a goblin kill. So the leader has like 2 chances to kill goblins, or I can give it to the Dabbler, and the Dabbler can kill a goblin with either of their 2 sides. I am definitely going to try to aggressively roll for the revenge sides here. Serrated Stone just helps me put some of these things over the top. And if I'm revenging, I don't necessarily need these to be one-shottable for goblins. So you could convince me that this defensive option is the better one of the 2. But I'm pretty sure I go with Serrated Stone here again. Just because it puts so many extra attacks into one-shot range without needing any prep or combos or anything like that. So I'll just skip ahead and see what... Yeah, I looked through every red hero to see if maybe the Glyph of Purity is great on either of them, and I skipped past what I actually selected. But yeah, I picked the Serrated Stone. So here's roll 1, turn 1. Notably, not so scary initially. And if you have cleanse, you can like stall and like set up kills on the goblins. But also note that the Valkyrie blocking the Dabbler right now is hitting this goblin for 4, that goblin for 4, and that goblin for 4. Also, if I take this reroll side, all 3 goblins just die instantly. So I don't know why I didn't keep that. But I also have Scald too, so I can actually have the leader hit this snake and Scald. And and that's a super nice side, and that's a great turn 1, and that's like exactly what I was looking for. But this goblin's got to die. This goblin is super scary right now, so that's absolutely my prime target. And it turns out if you just always roll damage all the time and the best sides, the game's easy. But no, when I say that, I'm joking. The better you build for certain instances, the more likely you are to feel like you're rolling lucky because you're just giving yourself that many more opportunities to quote unquote hit a lucky side. Okay, so now we have Tarantus. We had Troll King last time. We went down and burst down Troll King. Tarantus is a little bit different. Well, I say a little bit different. Tarantus is definitely different. There's a lot of ads to take care of. AoE sides are pretty strong. Clearing out spiders is almost mandatory because they can poison, but Tarantus kind of sucks. Their skills are awful. Their dice, the 4 poison weaken is absolutely like crucial, and they have 2 really good single target kill sides, and yeah, they're brutal. And when they summon 3 spiders, which is just nutty. So if I look at the Warlock is good against Tarantus because hey, being able to just spike 13 damage on this isn't bad. Plus, the Warlock can also generate if you have 3 stored mana and you roll this side, you get this. You are guaranteed to be able to use this even with expensive spells. So it seems a bit situational, sure, but at the same time, there is a decent possibility. Also, if you have some weakened spiders, this can easily become 4 mana as well. So you might have a 1 in 3 chance per roll to proc this. It's a lot of setup, but hey, if you have a skill that does 13 damage, it needs some setup anyway, which is fine. Vampire also generates 2 mana. Dabbler also generates 2 mana. So there's a lot of mana generation here. And plus I can put this on there to get rid of one of their blank sides. But so like I just dissed the sharp shot for having 2 misses and like conditional stuff. But I genuinely find this to be less conditional and just more impactful overall. But you pick a Warlock for a very specific purpose. If I felt that I was missing single target damage, Warlock becomes insanely good. So like if I had a Dancer here, the Warlock suddenly becomes way more useful. Just because you want to have both AoE and single target damage. The leader technically is giving us good single target damage right now. And I have good single target damage overall just with my character set. So the Warlock's value kind of goes down a little bit there, but I also don't know what I am going to draft later on. But also I'm likely to less prioritize AoE because I already went through one of the goblin fights, assuming and hoping that there's only one. Plus, yeah, but I also already have AoE technically with the Warden. You saw how well that worked last time. It was great. And if I do take the Warlock, I'm losing an AoE option for a single target option, which is completely fine if that's what you need. I didn't talk about the Alchemist at all yet, even though I've been doing a lot of. Yeah. Alchemist has good boss killing. This is very nice. Alchemist has good sustain type things with these 2 heal regen and decent mana generation. 2 sides where you can generate 2 mana is good. They have a single good heal that's a spell that obviously they can't necessarily be casting on their own. So in theory they have like AoE healing that requires setup, mana generation, single target healing that comes with the cleanse, and boss killing. So they have a good kit all around, but I tend to not take them too much because just how often characters in the mid to late game are just dying in a turn or 2. So it just really reduces the value that you can get out of regen, even though admittedly when you can get regen to work, regen works incredibly well. Also note that the only way I can get Tarantus to not kill the Dabbler is if I roll this side on the turn that they go through. That's just another small thing to keep in mind. I don't think either of these 2 heroes. Yeah, so again, I will always preach if you're struggling with a 50-50 on a decision, or check to see what other heroes are available, what tools they have, and which ones you'd like to pick. And if their tools are actually things that you need. So I just looked at the blue heroes and I'm just totally confused. It didn't really help me out at all. And when I look at the red heroes, it's like I was offered. I actually don't know if I was offered any red heroes this run. Shaman and Witch are still incredible. And I don't think I have any good synergy with like any of these. Technically, I have synergy with the Weaver and block sides in AoE fights, but I already have the Valkyrie, so that seems a little redundant. Yep. So I picked the Warlock. I actually genuinely thought I was going to pick the Alchemist here, but with this fight in particular, hey, cool. I have really good single target damage now. I have pseudo AoE. Like if you have characters that can just consistently output 4 damage and 5 damage and 6 damage, it's decently AoE. I have good AoE with, in my mind, with the shield here counter here. So I don't feel like I'm lacking anything crazy if I pick the Warlock. And I already explained kind of like why the Warlock can be good. And the Warlock also is especially good against like Hexia, where that none of that 13 damage gets reflected back to you. So yeah, instantly, Tarantus rolls a scary side, and the Valkyrie just always rolls the absolute best, the absolute best thing that could possibly roll. So I was very happy with that one, and I was memeing very hard. Leader made up for it a little bit by missing, but at this point, whatever, just clear out the spiders, and no one dies. It's an excellent turn one, especially considering how scary the Tarantus is. And the Tarantus just does the exact same thing. So notably, you cannot heal through this, and you cannot really block through this. So like, the vampire has +6 or +5 healing, which would heal me up to, and then make this still be at +6. And even if I had the best shielding side in the game, or like the highest single one, which is the Stalwart's 6 blocking side, I would only barely be keeping the vampire alive with exactly those two, with how strong this goes. This is why fights like these and rolls like these are why I think Undying is so good. Undying helps with pain, so the Warlock can pain and not die with it, which is kind of a silly reason. But hey, with like a Berserker, that matters a lot. And it's also really good against Hexia, even though a lot of people say Hexia is free. I've actually lost significantly more to Hexia than I have to Dragon. I feel like if I get to Dragon, I'm almost guaranteed to kill it, but that's not the same with Hexia. You might feel very different, but on Standard Unfair, Hexia can spiral out of control just as easily as the Dragon can. And having a lot of like the kind of damage I do, which is like just 6 damage physical, means Hexia is absolutely brutal unless you can reliably spam cleanse and have good anyway, like single target block. So I don't know, it's kind of a mess. But yeah, I keep this 5 healing. I don't necessarily even agree with it. And hey, the Valkyrie just always rolls the keep everyone alive button. So yeah, like I said, game's super easy when that happens, right? And now I want to store my mana. Having it infuse is good. Also, oh my goodness, these rolls from Tarantus are ridiculous. If I take this 2 mana, notably, and I reroll the Vampire, I can Blaze without even the Warlock generating mana. So that's 13 damage, which is 10, 11, 12, 13, which means I still need to do 6 more damage. Which, oh hey, look, the leader has. So technically, I should reroll like both of these just to try to hit a Blaze. I should reroll all 3 of these just to try to hit 2 mana with either of these characters to Blaze and kill and just be done with the fight. I'm pretty sure that's the line I take. And I'm pretty sure I reroll all these, yeah. And I miss entirely. So that's really sad. And I also noted that, like, I was like, oh, if I use that vampire skill and I burst, I can keep everyone alive. Yeah. Turns out that doesn't happen. Looking at it right now, I'm guessing that no, I have to have the burst for the extra block and block that with the Valkyrie. I was like, technically an infuse could do it, but yeah, no, it's just a rough roll here. That was absolutely horrible. So in my mind, my win condition is still to just get a blaze. But I, don't have really the mana generation to do it if I do this either. So both of these suck. Like, these are both very bad options. And you know what? Since I put myself out of blaze range, I said I'm just going to keep the vampire alive and I'm just going to let the warlock die. I'm tempted to just infuse here for the 8 heal, but bursting just puts the Tarantus in kill range. And this is already 8 damage, and it only has 11 health left. So this is scary. These turns are going to be honestly kind of terrifying. I only have to do 3 damage, but at the same time the leader's getting nuked, and I've already lost 2 of my heroes that are damage dealers. But sometimes it gets ugly, and this is the scariest thing to see. If I don't get 3 damage right here, and I have to kill 3 more spiders, which is exactly what happens, and the leader's poisoned for 4. This is scary. This is some scary stuff. Because if I have just Valkyrie Vampire and I have to kill a bunch of spiders, it's going to be a long haul. So yeah, I'm looking at if I keep the Undying side, use the Undying side before the leader goes. I kill 1 less spider, but I can keep the leader alive guaranteed. And I just decide to let the leader die. Yeah. Well, we'll see exactly what I do. But I'm guessing trying to keep the leader alive while nice and altruistic, like with 4 poison on him, no ability to cleanse it, it's just letting him die is fine. This is a rough fight, and the vampire's memeing on me here, but no big deal. These 2 should be able to take out 2 spiders, but obviously my damage lacking so much is noted here. But hey, we're out of the Tarantus fight. The very first thing I was going to say is hopefully the next fight is not so scary because I have 3 injured heroes, and it's a whiz with 2 snipers and 3 frontliners. So this fight is terrifying. Notably, sharp shot in this case would be very good, but I can't guarantee that the sharp shot would have been better than the Dabbler in the other fights. I kind of forgot to pay attention to that. Yeah, so just like last time, or was it like last time? I don't remember. Demon Claw and Serrated Stone gives +2 to a Rampage side. And hey, this fight looks scary, but man, if that Dabbler rolls this side, we're just in the clear the second they roll it, no matter what. So the idea is to keep the Dabbler alive at all costs. Maybe use some Valkyrie shenanigans here. And I'm just doing like a quick re-analysis of where my items are, just to see if there's any, like, maybe shielding the Warlock would be better. But I guess I just leave it on the Vampire, which I still don't necessarily agree with, but whatever. And like right now, I feel like, hey, I can snipe a sniper and kill. Like I can snipe a sniper and kill this spider if I block the leader with just this side alone. So that's pretty good. And then if that happens, yeah, the leader's like super safe. These can clear out gray and not orange though. So I'm notably letting my Dabbler die in this scenario if I do this in particular. So it's not the greatest move or the greatest keep, but I mean I definitely have to reroll some things, and aggressively rerolling the Dabbler for the Rampage side is probably a really good thing to do early. Although sometimes you also just have to accept when your roll is good enough, right? And hey, guess what? I do that almost just for the memes, but I could have just rampaged the Dabbler with every single thing here and just won. Turns out, that's incredibly good. All right, now we're given a fight where immediately this is no longer nearly as useful. And we're given a Fencer and a Shaman. Fencer's all right. If you're lacking AoE, Fencer is pretty great. You can get a lot of value out of this side. Again, it's just like Scald. You do have to be setting it up. You can't just ignore the fact that this exists and then be like, oh, I never get to use it to really high efficiency. You have to play as if you have this. And like certain moves get better or worse. Unfortunately, the Fencer can only do this once. Or only has one side where they can do this. So it's a little on the tough side to say, hey, the Fencer is an AoE class. These sides are great. 3 damage, 3 shield. It feels a little underwhelming, but comparing it to like the sharp shot, which had 3 damage ranged, I guess I would actually just much rather have 3 damage, 3 block. It just works much better with like boss fights, especially Hexia. But even Dragon, keeping yourself alive is pretty good. This 1 damage to all side kind of sucks. It's absolutely the worst part of the Fencer, and I'm okay with a hero having a side that just nullifies all damage. I think it's pretty good, and it gives them like a good balanced kit. Shaman, on the other hand, has an AoE cleanse. I don't even have to say anything else, and that should be notably incredibly strong. But Shaman also has a 10 heal, a 5 block, I guess you could call it, but also can heal. Well, you know what I mean. And then 2 sides that I think are generally kind of weak for the Shaman, but hey, I mean, it's damage or block, whatever, and alright mana generation. So, since we already have enough tools, I feel, for AoE, I'm just going to snap pick the Shaman to cover the cleanse. Yep, and there's still no reason to use the big shield. And the only thing to constantly think of is just like, how should you rearrange these 2 things to hit exact numbers? Because sometimes 7 is like the key, or sorry, 6 is like the key number, which it's unfortunately 7's for cause. So I maybe could have put them like both on the leader, so that way the leader could potentially roll a 7 damage side. It was something to consider, and I didn't even do that here. But one of the things I'm noting here with the Valkyrie is that, hey, this 4 damage is technically ranged. So as long as someone rolls 3 damage, which, thank you, Warlock, for making me not look like a fool, I can kill a Ka like this. Unfortunately, all 4 of these characters are targeting someone different, so this can't AoE, but it's still not the worst thing in the world. And since the Shaman will heal themselves here, I don't even have to worry about healing the Shaman first, and I can just snipe that Wisp. So I do that. It's a pretty good turn 1. I am happy with this first turn. Although, notably, the Warlock next turn is going to be a little on the scary side, because like almost nothing they can roll is useful. And I also killed enough things that I don't get shield value anymore, which would have been great here for 12 damage, but what can you do? And yeah, I aggressively rerolled, and I aggressively regretted doing so. Fortunately, I got to keep everyone alive, but man, that turn seems so weak. I was in so much better of a spot at the end of last turn than I was at this turn. But we're getting some good rolls again now. So yeah, killing spawns is, basically necessary at this point. I have enough damage to kill the spawn like this, so I pretty much just have to check to see what the Ka is killing, and choose to keep alive as best as I can everyone, which unfortunately means the Dabbler is gone. So yeah, a fight that looked guaranteed to be a very clean fight ended up a little shaky, and it's still going to be a little shaky, but you can do... I'm 1 mana short from Blaze, but if I double tap that, I can Blaze. So like blocking the Warlock, doing that. Then wait, what am I doing? Hey, whatever, that kills 2. So we get out relatively unscathed. And the next item choice, Third Heart and Anvil. Third Heart on its own it's actually all right. 3 max HP isn't the worst thing in the world for a tier 8 item, it's pretty underwhelming. But it's reliable, it's consistent, it works on everything, so you kind of have to expect it to be not as incredible. But hey, if you have things that give max HP, like the Pocket Phylactery, suddenly you're getting 21 max HP, and that is absolutely something to consider. That's huge. And if I'm not mistaken, I actually do have a max HP item here too, so there is synergy with it. Anvil though, this is one of those things where it's like, hey, I saw this on the forums, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Anviling the leader. Suddenly, casting burst, like I almost never cast burst with expensive spells. Suddenly, burst is insane on the with this. So I have steal, drain, potentially if I wanted to do it this way, I could have steal, drain, and give that to everybody. So like if I do like set that up and I roll it, every single person lives, every single person does a lot of damage too. It's very, very nice. So I'm like, this combo's great. There isn't really any other character that I would want to put that on, but I mean, it's fun for what it is. So notably right now, I have this combo immediately. So again, my mantra of just always roll good is still going strong. But then I also roll this. 3 I can kill 3 zombies instantly. And this fight, like the last fight was a little shaky, and this fight just goes to absolutely silly. And that's honestly just from one item. Well, I mean a combination of 2 items. But if you wanted to say that the Door Valkyrie combo isn't so great, which I would not blame you if you did, just note how often it has come into a really, really, really good effect in this run. Maybe if I did this 10 runs in a row, it wouldn't be that way. But it seems hard to, I guess, kind of argue for me with how consistently through like 8 floors it's been good that it's not good or that like that combo doesn't work. And again, you still have to be kind of picking Valkyrie. Like I picked Door into Valkyrie, so that made the Valkyrie choice better. But like it is strong. And even though this character isn't strong consistently on their own, there are ways you can make them strong, and that is definitely a thing to keep in mind. And then I'm given the choice between Ludus and Venom here. Notably, okay, so I have the 3 to basic. So this is Venom is really good in the Hexia fight because the poison damage also doesn't reflect anywhere. And just being able to stack a bunch of poison on Hexia is a really good way to kill the Hexia. But also, I have the Warlock who can do effectively the same thing. Although I don't think I've cast Blaze once yet. So maybe the Blaze consistency with the Warlock isn't so great. But with these 2 items, Serrated Stone and the Claw, the damage output of the Ludus is absolutely insane. I don't think anyone comes even close to the damage output of a Ludus with the Serrated Stone. On average. And also single target, maybe. I don't know. I'm sure there are absolutely ways you can get more, but the consistency of that Ludus is nuts. And so it's very, very tempting. I'm just and also you can, instead of having Rampage, you can also just add Drain. So the Ludus won't kill themselves hitting the Hexia. So you have to ask yourself, like, what's more important? The Ludus potentially being able to clear out all these imps, but being really risky attacking the Hexia, or just draining and having really good hits on the Hexia as well. I'm pretty sure with Serrated Stone, there's no way you can take the Venom though. Even though, like I said, I do like Venom, and they are one of my highest picks. But with this item set, I think I would be a fool to not. And I'm looking to see like, hey, what items would I want to equip on the Ludus? It's these 2. So if I take these off of everyone else and keep them here, what would my item configuration look like? And I like how it's looking at the moment. So yeah, I think that sells the Ludus for me. I think giving Drain is better than having a Rampage for clearing the imps, because I also have like, the Door and this side specifically for crazy imp clearing. So just good single target damage and Hexia is what I'm looking for. And kind of scary turn 1, but Valkyrie saves the Hexia and we can snipe 2 imps already. Notably, we are doing so much damage to imps that this side is really lackluster. It rarely ever grows, and these 2 sides won't kill a 3rd imp. So I guess I keep that just for safety net, like a safety net. Though I could see re-rolling this, especially because I was going to put Undying on the Warlock anyway. So if I rolled the 4 mana pain side, it would still have been completely fine. I guess I just didn't want to miss. I thought that maybe missing would be bad enough that I couldn't do it. So anytime the Ludus rolls the high damage drain, I'm just going to hit the Hexia no matter what. Because unless I'm really relying on successfully hitting this Blaze, which it's not looking so nice right now, then yeah, I need to do single target damage somewhere else, and this absolutely will do it. Also note that this side also has pain attached to it, so I cannot use this no matter what. I can't even kill an imp with this because it's got pain. So it'll just do 1 damage. So I literally can't use this side. So like even if I wanted to do this, it still kills. So it's like, all right, I just don't use this side. And the Ludus is rolling like crazy. Good. Everyone's rolling like absolutely great right here. Like I definitely like that side. I can give it 2 block. I can give 2 block and then re-roll. Or then roll everyone else. And I can do that. Yeah. I can do like this right here. And like that, I can just kill the Hexia right now. Because I have 1 damage over lethal. Or I can just have this turn. Both of these seem completely fine. The Hexia is in 1-shot range with the Ludus, and hey, look at that. Another clean kill. Yeah, and there you go. To prove that this is absolutely a 2-streak, I got the unfair streak achievement just now. And here's a run overview. Yeah, a couple of kills here. One of those is from Tarantus, but everyone stayed alive pretty well. Had a couple of characters that underperformed, a couple of characters that overperformed just because items. Only 39 blanks rolled. That's also just another, I guess, really nice thing of the picks that I got, and the way that I kind of just chose to keep things, that sort of stuff. So yeah, that is a successful 2-streak on standard unfair. I sit here for a little bit, but I think I also just verify. No, I just leave it at this, and that's it. So yeah, thanks. If you actually stayed through all this and listened to me ramble for like 3 hours, thanks. I appreciate it. Hopefully it was insightful, or hopefully it will be insightful for me, and you will tell me all the ways that I was just dumb. Because I'm more than open to hearing any argument for that, because I find that kind of stuff really interesting. So anyway, thanks for watching, and take care.